Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. American Comics. Transformed into a super race, Spider-Gwen was stunned. Chapter 1. The United States, New York, Queens. Jingle bell. Jingle bell. The doorbell of a detached villa is being constantly rang, but there is no response for a long time. In front of the door was an extremely beautiful girl with short blonde hair, a white shirt, and a short sports skirt. The youth and beauty of this age group were vividly displayed. However, the girl's exquisite face became darker and darker as time went by. "Father, wait for me here, I'll wake Wooming up, he must be sleeping in again." Shouting to the police car at the door, the girl took out the key from her pocket and skillfully opened the door. "Go through the living room, come to the second floor, and push the door to enter the master bedroom of this house." Sure enough, even breathing came from the bed. A black-haired young man was sleeping soundly, his handsome facial features brightened his eyes. But the most attractive thing is that perfect body of muscles. It is full of strength and has graceful curves. The file size is also moderate, and it is not exaggerated like an overfit athlete at all. Even though she grew up together, she still blushed when she saw with her own eyes how the young man cultivated this muscular girl little by little. Reluctantly, Rua stretched her chest muscles, which were not much smaller than hers, and the girl shouted vigorously. "Wooming, get up soon. Why can't you get hard? My doorbell almost broke. I get hard, why can't I get hard?" The boy, who was still in a drowsy sleep, got up from the bed in a jerk. "Gwen, there are some things you can't talk nonsense, I'm going to get up now. I'm going to cook, you, go and wash up, if you haven't cleaned up after I'm done, you know the consequences." Gwen ignored any of the boy's excuses and issued an ultimatum. After shaking Wooming vigorously, she walked downstairs quickly and went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Due to time constraints, she could only make some simple sandwiches. She can guarantee that she is more familiar with everything here than the owner, Sun Wooming. After hearing Gwen's threat, the teenager also climbed out of bed resignedly, walked into the bathroom and began to wash. Sun Wooming, a time traveler. When he participated in a comic exhibition, he bought a set of Dragon Ball figures. Looking at the neatly arranged 7 Dragon Balls, Sun Wooming suddenly had a second stroke. Like in the anime, he made a wish to become a Saiyan, and as a result, with a flash of golden light, he traveled to this world and became an abandoned orphan. The Dragon Balls granted his wish and indeed gave him a Saiyan physique. Not only that, but also all the training memories of Sun Wukong before he transformed into Super 2, and also presented the iconic tail by the way. Make Sun Wooming a Saiyan with no flaws. The only thing that went wrong was that the world he came to was not the Dragon Ball world, but the Marvel world. This is what he realized when he visited the museum and saw the famous buttocks of the United States. The house where it is now is also the inheritance left to him by the grandmother who adopted Sun Wooming after her death. It's a good start for Sun Wooming. Although the Marvel world is dangerous, according to Sun Wooming's observation for many years, it is closer to the movie world, and there is no mutant yet. It can't be said how safe it is, but at least it is much better than the Dragon Ball world. You must know that the Blue Star humans in the Dragon Ball world are really miserable, and they don't know how many times they have been resurrected by Shenlong. Moreover, he traveled earlier, and it is only 2008 now, so he has enough time to develop. Tony Shidake is still working on the identification of the cover girl, and he has not become the Iron Man who opened a new era. Wooming, are you ready? Dad is still waiting outside. Gwen's call came from downstairs. Sun Wooming casually combed his hair, changed his vest, put on his wrist guards, and casually put on a short sleeve, and walked downstairs quickly. "Take the sandwich and go, we're going to be late." Gwen put the sandwich she just made into Sun Wooming's hands, and pushed him towards the door. The breeze slightly lifted the girl's skirt, and Sun Wooming glanced at it. "Well, safety pants, that's about it. If you make me late on the first day, you can wash the clothes for this semester yourself." Gwen didn't notice his little movements, and was still chattering non-stop. Sun Wooming immediately raised his hands to express his surrender, walked quickly a few steps, opened the back door of the police car and got in. Looking at the white young man sitting in the driver's seat with his face darkened, he greeted him as if nothing happened. "Yo, Uncle George, actually eating a sandwich made by my daughter, I don't even get this treatment." George Stacy, Gwen Stacy's father, is also the chief of the police department in the area. Sun Wuming is not surprised that he became Gwen Stacy's childhood sweetheart. He's time traveled. What's wrong with getting a wife at the beginning? Sun Wukong also has Chi-Chi. Is there something wrong with Sun Wuming having Gwen? Nothing wrong. To meet his fate, Sun Wuming doesn't care what important role you have in the so-called plot. This is a real world, and since Gwen met him, everything will be different in the future. Sorry Dad, I kept you waiting, let's go to school. Gwen got into the car and said something to his father. Officer George, who had been gnashing his teeth, immediately responded with a smile on his face and started the car. Tisk, daughter slave is like this. Even though it was very unpleasant to see Sun Wuming, George could only restrain his little thoughts in front of Gwen. The car moves fast and runs very smoothly. Sun Wuming finished the sandwich in a few mouthfuls, and Gwen obviously knew his appetite, so he handed over another one. Fearing that Sun Wuming would choke, he turned on his water bottle to tell him not to eat dry food. Mr. George, who was driving, saw this scene, and his back molars were about to be crushed with hatred. He dreamed of getting such considerate treatment, but he never got it. Brat, you. Any father who sees his little cabbage taking the initiative to court others will probably be in Mr. George's current state of mind. Since entering junior high school and getting to know Sun Wuming, my daughter has undergone huge amounts of changes. The little Princess Gwen, who doesn't know any housework, wants to take care of Sun Wuming, who is even more idiotic than her. It turned into a little padded jacket who is proficient in washing and cooking. It's a pity that this little padded jacket skipped this step of Wuri's father and flew directly onto someone else. But no matter how unwilling he was, Mr. George could only endure in silence for the sake of harmony in the relationship between father and daughter. I don't know what kind of ecstasy this brat gave Gwen. Looking at Sun Wuming sitting in the backseat with silly fun, Mr. George couldn't tear himself apart. The police car arrived on the road in front of Midtown High School 10 minutes before class started. Thank you Dad. Don't be polite to me, Gwen, I'm sorry I can't pick you up this afternoon, you know, the police station. Mr. George said apologetically, and Gwen was very sensible and said that it was all right, she could go back with Sun Wuming. When Gwen and Sun Wuming got out of the car, they immediately attracted the attention of many students. One is a beautiful schoolmaster, and the other is a handsome guy who is so strong that girls drool. In the land of the United States, there is no future for pussies and gigolos. Only strong muscles and a masculine appearance can stimulate their hormones. Sun Wuming's ancestral Saiyan muscles are in existence that can make countless women's legs weak when they see it. And Gwen didn't give up too much. Short blonde hair, delicate and small face, combined with her unique heroic spirit. 90% of the boys at Midtown High School consider her their goddess. Unfortunately, the goddess already has a master. Su Wuming also looked at the girl beside him, especially staying on those white and slender thighs for 3 more seconds. Too bad I didn't wear white silk. Otherwise, he would only have a 4-word evaluation. Show off my mouth. Go, don't waste time. Feeling Su Wuming's burning eyes, Gwen was also a little shy. Grabbing his hand, he ran towards the classroom building. The sun was still shining on the boy and the girl, making them indistinguishable from each other. Morning, Stacy. Morning, Hannah. Morning, Sun. Well, who are you here? It can be seen that Gwen is very popular in the class, many students greeted each other, and many people greeted Sun Wuming. But after 2.5 years, there are only a handful of names he can remember. The school system of the United States is 2 years in junior high school and 4 years in high school. This year is Sun Wuming's 3rd year in high school, and also his 17th year in this world. Walking to the penultimate row of seats by the window, after Sun Wuming sat down, the Albanian student in the front row turned his head and asked excitedly in a low voice. Sun, I heard that you came with Gwen today, and you were still in her father's car. Are you two living together? Nunara, the smell of your curry smells to me, do you want to eat curry early in the morning? Sun Wuming frowned and backed away, and kicked Nunara forward, widening the distance between the two. It's normal to eat curry in the morning, don't do this, just tell me. Nunara didn't care either, and continued to ask gossip. In fact, most people in the school have long defaulted that Sun Wuming and Gwen are a couple. But being sent to school by parents like this was the first time he was so blatant. Well, in fact, there were also before, but every time Mr. George would stop at the intersection in front of him and let the two of them walk to the school. It's just too late today. Yes, Ms. Gwen spent a wonderful night with me yesterday, it's okay. Sun Wuming rolled his eyes and said angrily, causing screams. Wow, Sun, it's yours. Gwen ran over and pinched Sun Wuming in embarrassment. Don't listen to Wuming's nonsense, we are just dropping by. Another blonde beauty in the class didn't think it was a big deal to watch the excitement, and booed. Sun, I have much more experience than Gwen. Would you like to come to me first? I can make you more mature. Sun Wuming looked horrified. Fake, Sophia, I don't want to be on your list. Sophia is also a popular figure in the school, with blonde hair and blue eyes, big waves, not bad, and the Chinese zodiac belongs to the bus. And he didn't feel ashamed at all. He generously compiled a ranking list for the boys in the class, and made a lot of judgments. She even thought about expanding the list to include schools. Sun Wuming, who has a perfect body and good looks, is naturally what she wants to taste, but it's a pity that Sun Wuming can't mess with this kind of stuff. Not to mention the attributes of the bus, even its appearance, figure, and temperament. Gwen and his family can beat Sonia by several blocks. Soon, the arrival of the teacher ended the noise in the class. Opening a page of the book at random, Sun Wuming's mind was completely empty, and he began to meditate. It is impossible to learn, he is a Saiyan, what is the use of learning these crap? Only a brainless Saiyan can become the strongest. I can only practice honestly, and in the future I will become a super race to barely survive. Mr. Sun, you answer this question. No, don't ask me, ask Gwen. Sun Wuming didn't even open his eyes, he just opened his mouth and pushed back. The whole class roared with laughter. The teacher's hands were shaking with anger, but there was nothing he could do about Sun Wuming. This kid's identity is very mysterious, even the headmaster wants to talk to him kindly. As a part-time worker, he could only swallow his anger. Miss Stacy, come here. This question involves the calculation formula of decay rate. The teacher's face also changed a lot, and appreciation flashed in his eyes. Miss Stacy is different from reckless people like Sun Wuming. She not only participates in various activities, but also keeps her academic performance among the top 3 in the school all year round. Loved by teachers, Wuming, I think you need to get serious. You will apply for university next semester. I don't want you to become a vagrant in the future. After school, Gwen walked side by side with Sun Wuming and discussed with him very seriously. You will support me, Gwen, you will. Sun Wuming looked at the girl's pretty face and blinked. The deep black eyes were like swirls, making Gwen's heart beat faster. I won't. I don't want my future husband to be a house husband. Avoid Sun Wuming's deep noodle shop, Gwen said arrogantly. The young man smiled. It turns out that you are cultivating me at the request of your husband. Then I have to work hard. Only then did the girl realize that she had missed something. Her pretty face flushed anxiously, and she reached out to pat Sun Wuming to cover up her inner embarrassment. The two fought all the way, and when they came to the campus, they happened to meet students who were getting together and booing. Eat the vegetables. Gordon, hurry up. Sun Wuming is 1.86 meters tall, so he can easily pass through the crowd and see what's going on inside. A tall young man with an inch cut was pressing the thin young man with glasses on the dinner plate, forcing him to eat the leftovers on the plate. The surrounding students watched this scene excitedly. Not only did no one step forward to stop them, but they kept clapping and applauding. No wonder it is always said that most Europeans and Americans are barbarians who have not evolved fully. The more violent things are, the more excited they are. Isn't that what it is now? Sun Wuming, the protagonist of the two incidents, also knew each other. The name of the one being bullied is unknown, but it is indeed his classmate. It's the kind of young man who can only learn, doesn't cause trouble, doesn't make trouble, and doesn't have much social life. Perhaps in Longguo, such a child is very lovable, the teacher likes it, and the parents are at ease. They are usually called other people's children. But put it in the United States, this is the perfect bullying target. And the bully is the captain of the school's basketball team, an athlete who has become a bully on campus with his strong physique. Lightning Thompson. Sun Wuming remembered him because this kid seemed to be some kind of hero, and he had a deep relationship with Spider-Man. But he also forgot what happened. After all, there are more superheroes than dogs in the Marvel Universe, even without mutant. Walking on the streets of New York, throwing a brick casually can hit this hero or that hero. The truth is worthless. For Marvel, Sun Wuming knows the Avengers best. Telling Gwen what happened there, Gwen just frowned, but didn't mean to care. Campus bullying is very complicated. Just because you help the bullied person this time does not mean that you will be able to help every time in the future. Maybe you will do bad things with good intentions. Make bullies more brutal. Just when the two were about to bypass this group of energetic students and go home, things changed again. Peter, you came just in time. Take a picture of this scene. No, I'm not going to shoot this. Put him down. Put him down, Eugene. At the name, Thompson threw Gordon away, knocking Peter to the ground with an angry punch. Eugene is Thompson's real name, but this is a name that only Mousy would give. Thompson didn't want people to know that he still had Mousy blood, so he resented the name very much, and people always called him Lightning. Seeing Peter Parker being beaten constantly, Sun Wuming frowned, and said to Gwen beside him, "Wait here and be back soon." After speaking, Sun Wuming pushed through the crowd and came to the front, seeing that Thompson was about to punch Peter again. He rushed over immediately and kicked out. Boom. Thompson, who weighed 200 kilograms, flew out 7 or 8 meters and landed on the ground, gasping for air in pain. This was the result of Sun Wuming's efforts to restrain himself. "I gave you a face, didn't you dare to hit my classmate?" The cheering crowd fell silent in an instant, and it took Thompson a long time to stand up and rushed forward with fists waving. "Fuck, son, you're pissing me off." Boom. Another kick, and this time Thompson couldn't get up again. "Don't play school bully with me. When I was school bully, you didn't know where to join the Boy Scouts." Sun Wuming sneered. When he entered Midtown Middle School, because he was Asian, many people wanted to bully him. But as a Saiyan, Sun Wuming has never been afraid of campus bullying, only hated that the campus is not violent enough. In the first year of junior high school, he cleaned up all the thorns in the school that provoked him, and became the new thorn. That is, the appearance of Gwen later made Sun Wuming restrained a lot. Otherwise, how dare Thompson speak loudly to him today? "Thank you, Wuming." Peter came over to thank him, covering his face, and the crowd around him was much smaller, afraid that Sun Wuming would stare at them. "You helped me with my homework for 2.5 years, what is that? If this guy dares to trouble you in the future, you can come to me." Sun Wuming patted Peter on the shoulder, walked towards where Gwen was without looking at Thompson, and finally dropped a sentence. "Today's homework is also up to you, Garfield." Peter looked at Sun Wuming's back with helplessness. "How many times have I told you, my name is not Garfield?" He and Sun Wuming are also friends, but he doesn't know why. Sun Wuming always calls him Garfield. How easy to remember the name Peter. "Peter, Peter, are you all right?" Harry, Peter's school friend, hurried over. As soon as he heard that Peter and Thompson had a conflict, he immediately realized that something was wrong, but it was still a step too late. "It's okay, it was Wuming who saved me." Peter shook his head. "Wuming, is that the real man in your class?" Sun Wuming's toned muscles instantly appeared in Harry's mind. Upon hearing this, Peter became unhappy. "Harry, I'm a real man too." "You." Harry looked at his good friend who was as thin as a stick, and shook his head in disgust. "You're just a buddy." "Shit. I didn't expect you to have a sense of justice." On the way home, Gwen and Sun Wuming were discussing what happened just now. "No, I'll take the shot, just because my friend is involved. If it's someone else, I won't even take a look." Sun Wuming shook his head. "If you don't have the strength, don't stand up, otherwise you deserve to be beaten." "You're right no matter what." Gwen stuck out her tongue, made a grimace, and took Sun Wuming's hand to speed up a bit. "Let's hurry up. I told my mother that you are coming for dinner. It is probably ready soon. As long as I don't cook flavored fried fish, I will go." "Oh, it's cold, what are you talking about, let's go." Following Gwen all the way, the two came downstairs to a high-end apartment. Mr. George's income is quite good, and he can buy a not-so-small high-level apartment in the heart of Queens. Sun Wuming was a little skeptical. Did he have another side job, a police commissioner? There is no reason to be so rich. Mom, Wu Ming and I are back. Aunt Helen, sorry to bother you again. Facing Gwen's mother, Sun Wuming still greeted Gwen's mother honestly. Helen Stacy is a middle-aged woman who still has charm. It can be seen that she must have been a big beauty when she was young. Fortunately, Gwen looks like her mother, otherwise. When the two came back, Helen was busy in the kitchen. She just said a few words casually, and let the two go to play by themselves. Gwen directly pulled Sun Wuming into her boudoir. The bedroom is not too big, only a bed, a desk and a whole wardrobe are placed. There are 2 photo frames on the table, one of which is a photo of Gwen and his family. The other one is a photo of her and Sun Wuming. The 2 people in the photo are smiling very brightly, but also a little bit young. This was taken when they went to Hawaii to play in junior high school. There is also a row of cute dolls on the bed, and the quilts are neatly folded. On the pink wall, there were a few band posters, one of which actually had Gwen and the other 2 girls. It was the school band she formed with Mary Jane and Betty Brant. Gwen used to study gymnastics, but after Sun Wuming expressed some dislikes, she switched to playing in a band. Following his gaze, Gwen was also a little embarrassed. Don't look at it, this poster is not good looking. How beautiful it is, especially against the backdrop of the 2 people next to it. Sha Cheng pointed to Mary Jane and Betty Brant, who were standing beside Gwen, who were nearly half a head shorter. Coupled with the fact that she has practiced gymnastics, the beauty of Gwen's temperament cannot be compared between the 2. Hearing Su Wuming praise himself so much, Gwen was naturally very happy, but she still beat him a few times in reproach. What sets off oneself? This is the most normal group photo of the band, okay. How can I have such a scheming? Helen, who had been paying attention to the movement in the room, was quietly relieved when she heard the noise of fighting. Unlike Mr. George, Helen still likes Sun Wuming very much. He is handsome, in good health, and polite, and he is also very kind to his daughter. The most important thing is that Gwen likes him very much, and she supports them when they walk together. But it doesn't mean it's now, these 2 are still children, and she doesn't want to be a grandmother so early. At least after college, The time came to 7 o'clock in a flash, and it was almost dark before George dragged his tired body back home. After all, it is a free country, and there are countless crimes happening here every day. Robbery, drug trafficking, selling X, any profitable crime, you can definitely find a complete industrial chain in New York. According to incomplete statistics, the number of bullets consumed in New York every year can circle the blue star. As a police chief who often rushes to the front line, it is relatively early for Mr. George to come back at this point. Looking at the 4 sets of cutlery on the table, he was also taken aback. Honey, are you going to have guests at home today? There are no guests, Helen replied and knocked on Gwen's door. Children, come out to eat. Here comes mother. Under George's incredulous gaze, Sun Wuming emerged from his precious daughter's boudoir. Yo, Uncle George, yo your head ah, why are you here, and still out of my daughter's room? If it weren't for the neat clothes on Gwen, Mr. George would have made up a temporary charge and arrested this brat. Don't be stupid, come and help me serve the food. Helen called George into the kitchen and said in a low voice, don't scare Wuming, when the time comes, my daughter will have to settle accounts with you, and you will be the one who regrets it. Mr. George felt extremely pained, and suddenly found that there was no place for him at home. Why 1 or 2, all help that brat talk. The dinner menu is very simple, standard American steak, served with some vegetables and mashed potatoes. It was more like a family dinner. Sun Wuming doesn't care if it's rich or not, as long as there's something for him to eat. Helen also knew about Sun Wuming's appetite. His portion of steak was 36 ounces, while others only had 8 ounces. There is no saying in America that you can eat and sleep without talking, and the family can talk freely when eating. Gwen talked about the interesting things that happened in school today, including the final conflict between Sun Wuming and Lightning Thompson. Her purpose is also to add some points to Wuming in George's heart. The police should like such a just act. Unexpectedly, George frowned. Gwen, although the other party's behavior is hateful, Wuming shouldn't use violence. Tell the matter to the school, and they will deal with it fairly. Dad, Gwen's eyes were full of disbelief. She didn't expect George to say that. If suing teachers worked, would there still be so many school violence incidents in the United States every year? Don't listen to your dad's nonsense. Helen stopped George, who was about to say something, with her eyes, and then looked at her daughter tenderly. George is just afraid that you will be involved. That's what policemen do. They think that they are the only ones who have the power to enforce the law on this land. HMPH, pedantic. Gwen snorted twice, and then said, anyway, what Wu Ming did was right. If I had the ability to stop Thompson, I would do the same. Sun Wuming, who was at the center of the topic, didn't say a word, and concentrated on dealing with the stake in front of him. Facing his daughter in the rebellious period, Mr. George had no choice but to change the subject. The dinner ended in a slightly awkward atmosphere. After dinner, Gwen sent Sun Wuming downstairs. Sorry, Wu Ming, Dad didn't mean to target you. Gwen apologized to Sun Wuming for Mr. George's remarks just now, but the person concerned shook his head indifferently. Different positions and different views. Uncle George is a policeman, so he naturally cares more about procedural justice. My words are purely out of interest, don't think so much. Procedural justice. Gwen was thoughtful when she heard this sentence. It's getting late, go back quickly, I'll take a taxi and go home. Sun Wuming rubbed the girl's blonde hair, feeling very good. Gwen was a little dissatisfied that her hairstyle was messed up, but she didn't move away. Okay then, see you tomorrow. After thinking about it, Gwen still gave the boy a hug. The nephrite is in the bosom, and the fragrance is tangy. Gwen's voice was a little shy. Don't think too much, this is just to make up for you. Watching Gwen go upstairs, Sun Wuming came to a quiet and dark alley. With his right hand, he raised his sword and pointed between his eyebrows, and then his figure disappeared in place. Whoosh. In just a moment, Sun Wuming's figure suddenly appeared on his lawn. The sound of the neighbor watching TV came into his ears clearly. Well, it's still R18. I have to say that Lau Mei's program is really exciting, especially after 12 o'clock, it's really. Tut tut. It's a pity that they all need money, and Sun Wuming will not be in a hurry to send money to these capitalists. He can prostitute his neighbor for free. That guy looks at it every day and is almost malnourished. When he got home, the first thing Sun Wuming did was to take out his mobile phone and skillfully call the surrounding restaurants to order food. In 2008, there were not so many food delivery software, so we could only make calls one by one. 10 largest pizzas, 30 burgers, and 200 fried chicken nuggets. As a Saiyan, you don't have to do anything else, but this appetite is definitely not much worse. It's not that I don't want to eat Chinese food, it's just that the Chinese food that travels across the ocean has become very strange in order to cater to the tastes of foreigners. What General Tso's chicken, Central Plains offal. After eating it a few times, Sun Wuming gave up on it. There are also some authentic Chinese restaurants, but they are all near Chinatown, which is really far from his home. In order to save time, he usually eats these junk foods, which are high in calories and more suitable for him. Due to the large amount of demand, it took more than an hour for the takeaway ordered by Sun Wuming to be delivered. After a fierce meal, the food piled up into a hill was quickly stuffed into his stomach. Sun Wuming patted his unchanging stomach until he finished eating, and said with satisfaction, "Comfortable, I'm full now." Without any intention of resting, Sun Wuming simply packed up and threw the takeaway box outside. Turned around and entered the basement. The space of hundreds of square meters is occupied by all kinds of randomly placed equipment. It looks no different from an ordinary gym, except that the types are more complete, but in fact, all the equipment here is specially customized, and a small iron plate weighs hundreds of catties. Putting on the unique Guixian-style martial arts uniform, Sun Wuming started his unshakable practice. With one finger on the ground and 1,000 Jin counterweight on his body, Sun Wuming's figure kept rising and falling, and his speed was getting faster and faster. After a while, sweat dripped from his forehead and the ground was wet. Saiyans, or the cultivation in the world of Dragon Ball, is very simple, that is to temper the chi in the body. Chi is a kind of magical energy contained in all living beings. It can be as small as maintaining the normal operation of life, or as big as destroying stars and destroying the universe with one blow. And if you want to enhance the Qi, in your body, improving your physical fitness is the fastest way. As the vitality increases, the strength of Qi also increases. As a Saiyan, Sun Wuming has unique advantages. Even if he does not exercise, his body will develop naturally, and he will be much stronger than humans when he reaches adulthood. What's more, he has consciously started exercising according to the memory of Sun Wukong's practice in his mind since elementary school. Up to now, his physical fitness has reached an extremely terrifying situation. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Sun Wuming, who was sweating profusely, left the basement, went into the bathroom, and took a comfortable hot bath. Lying in the bathtub, his eyes were slightly closed, and he was a little worried. The current exercise effect is getting worse and worse. If you wait for your strength to reach a higher level, such stress-free exercise may not even have a little effect. Difficult. Now he is using the most expensive and specially customized equipment, but even so, he still can't keep up with the speed of strength improvement. By comparing the memories in his mind, Sun Wuming also has a relatively clear understanding of his own strength. He is now obviously stronger than Monkey King, who just finished using the Super God Water and defeated old Piccolo. It is also weaker than the adult Wukong, who has experienced hard training from the gods and defeated the young Piccolo. Say strong is not strong, say weak is not weak. This is a bit embarrassing. The same is true on the current Blue Star. He doesn't pay attention to ordinary minions at all, but he faces big guys like Ancient One and Odin. He, Sun Wuming, is also a minion. Now Sun Wuming dares to point at everyone on the earth and shout, "Ancient One boss, please stand up, everyone here is rubbish. If you want to be truly invincible in this world, you must become a Super Saiyan, or even the later forms. The Tenjin group, the 5 great gods, and even the Tribunal of Life and the Transcendence are not something ordinary Super Saiyans can deal with. It's not even close. But Sun Wuming doesn't have to worry. This kind of existence is generally similar to the background board. Without major changes, they will not appear in the real world rashly. Did you also come to this world with me?" Holding an apple file-sized golden crystal ball in his hand, with a star inside, Sun Wuming murmured softly, "There is no doubt that this is Dragon Ball, one-star Dragon Ball." When someone picked it up, this one-star Dragon Ball appeared beside Sun Wuming. His time travel has nothing to do with Dragon Ball, plus this one in his hand. Sun Wuming had an intuition that the 7 Dragon Balls followed him into this world. It's just that he has been looking for it for many years, but there has been no news. Forget it, don't want to. Crash. Getting up from the bathtub, revealing his muscular body, after drying off briefly, Sun Wuming went to bed. Even without Dragon Balls, as long as you practice hard, you don't need any wishes. After figuring this out, Sun Wuming's mind became much smoother, and he soon fell asleep. The next day, George acted as a driver again, escorting his daughter to school with some brat. But maybe it was last night when Gwen went back and told him about the conversation between her and Sun Wuming. Mr. George took a rare pleasing look at Sun Wuming and chatted with him a few more times. "Boy, the procedural justice you mentioned yesterday is very interesting. Did you come up with it yourself?" "No, I don't have this awareness. I heard it from a professor." Sun Wuming replied while eating breakfast. "Which professor? I want to listen to his lecture when I'm free." "Oh, it's Zhang San, a professor from Longguo. You should find his video online if you search online." Hey, Wuming. At the school gate, Sun Wuming turned his head and saw Peter Parker standing beside an old man, waving at him. "Uncle Ben, then I'll go first," Peter said to his uncle, and rushed across the road impatiently. Looking at the classmate whom his nephew greeted, Ben Parker also nodded politely. Coming to Sun Wuming and Gwen, Peter secretly took out 2 exercise books and put them in Sun Wuming's school bag. "This is homework due in a while." "Thanks, Garfield." "Come on, stop calling me Garfield, I don't know that person at all." "Okay, Garfield." "Parker, you help Wuming with homework again. How many times have I told you, don't help the tyrant again?" Gwen frowned, very unhappy. The old lady was trying to persuade Wuming to make progress, and you were making trouble there. Be honest. Facing Gwen's reprimand, Peter's face turned bitter. "Student Stacy, you know, Wuming just helped me yesterday." Calling by the first name represents a close relationship, and calling by the last name as a normal classmate, colleague, or just met. Then you can't. Gwen wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Sun Wuming, who was in the middle. Okay, Gwen, it's not like you don't know me. Even if Peter doesn't write it for me, I can't write it myself. Sun Wuming spread his hands. It is not so much that Peter is helping me, it is better to say that he is helping the teacher so that he will not be so embarrassed. Seeing that he was so confident and plausible that he didn't do his homework, Gwen also laughed angrily. But he really didn't bother Peter again, which made him relieved. In the distance, Lightning Thompson clenched his fists as he watched the three of them talking and laughing happily as they walked towards the teaching building. After yesterday's incident, he was called in by a vice principal and severely criticized. He was even revoked as the basketball captain. But Sun Wuming, who beat someone up, did nothing. He was angry and scared. Because the principal said, if he messes with Sun Wuming again, he will be prepared to record a serious demerit and even be expelled from school. Thompson didn't understand why the principal would be so flattering to a student. Well, if Sun Wuming knew what he was thinking, he would definitely tell him the answer. It's very simple. As long as you donate $500,000 to the school every year, you can also get this kind of treatment. In class, Sun Wuming fished daily, lying on the table motionless. It looks like you are sleeping, but you are actually practicing. Under Sun Wuming's perception, every living body around exudes a faint aura. Queens, Manhattan, New York, the entire state, and even the capital next door. As long as Sun Wuming is willing, his perception of Qi can spread to the entire eastern part of the United States. Don't think that this range is very large. Sun Wukong is separated by countless planets. As long as you remember the opponent's Qi, you can get the perception. If you can't exercise in school, Sun Wuming will improve his control over Qi through meditation. The teacher naturally saw Sun Wuming's distraction, but as long as it doesn't disturb other students, ordinary teachers don't care. Except for going out for a meal with Gwen at noon, Sun Wuming just lay down for another day. Before school was over, the biology teacher stopped the students who couldn't wait to get ready to participate in various activities and announced, Osborne Group will open some laboratories on the visit day on Saturday. Students who are interested in knowing more can contact me to sign up. This is a great opportunity. If you are favored by the researchers there, you can also become intern assistants like Stacy, which will be very helpful for applying to universities in the future. Gwen smiled shyly, feeling a little embarrassed to be used as a role model. Hearing what the teacher said, there were indeed many students who asked him to sign up, such as Peter. Peter is also considered a bully in elementary school, especially in the two subjects of biology and physics. He often gets full marks. Aren't you going this weekend? At night, Gwen was lying on the bed shaking her white legs and calling Sun Wuming. What do I do? In biology, I only know how to extend life. Everything else is a Bible. With that time, I might as well sleep in. The speed of the car was too fast, and Gwen blushed directly at the words, but it was a pity that Sun Wuming couldn't appreciate it. Are you sure you're sleeping at home instead of going to some blonde beauty to discuss the continuation of life? Sun Wuming, who was exercising, was holding dumbbells, and his mobile phone was on the ground and turned on hands-free. Hearing Gwen's slightly vigilant temptation, he couldn't help laughing. Don't worry, I'm not interested in other blondes. If it's not blonde, I can't guarantee it. Sun Wuming thought to himself. Only then did Gwen smile with satisfaction, and it wasn't because she was suspicious, but mainly because Sun Wuming was so popular in the girls' circle. Usually when chatting with friends, Gwen can often hear these nympho girls dreaming about Sun Wuming, and then drooling wildly. The vigilance is naturally greatly improved. This is a pig she has raised for several years, how can she go for another cabbage? The two talked on the phone for a long time before Gwen reluctantly hung up the phone under Helen's urging. As for Sun Wuming, they also dropped their equipment. Although he has not reached the normal amount of exercise, he has more important things to do today. Put on a black exercise suit, and through the perfect control of the muscles, change your face into another person's appearance. Unremarkable, far from his original handsomeness. Sun Wuming's figure flashed and disappeared into the room. In Manhattan, a corner of Wall Street, a hotel with an ordinary appearance is located here. In this piece of land where every inch of land is expensive, the entrance of this hotel is very deserted, and no guest has entered for a long time. A lot of boring people have even opened a market, betting on when this hotel will go out of business. But even after so many years, this no-school hotel still stands here. After changing his face, Sun Wuming walked out of a dark alley and entered the hotel gate. In the hall, there were quite a few people in suits and leather shoes, chatting with wine glasses, but when they saw Sun Wuming, their voices subconsciously lowered a lot. Many people even showed fear and left the hall in a panic. Ignoring the gazes of the people around, Sun Wuming came directly to the front desk. The black manager standing at the front desk showed a smile. What a lucky day today, not only the old friend is back, but even Mr. Dao Baibai is here. Such a special day should be recorded in the diary of the Continental Hotel. Long time no see, Karen. Sun Wuming nodded, and asked curiously, old friend, can you tell me who it is? Karen still maintained a professional smile. I'm sorry Mr. Tao Baibai, you know the rules, but I believe you will also be happy to see this old friend. Sun Wuming curled his lips. If you don't tell me, he will just watch it by himself. After searching the air in the entire hotel, he did find a familiar feeling, and soon remembered the identity of the other party, and smiled. You're right, it's really surprising. Help me call him down for a drink later. Your will, sir, is there anything I can do to help you? Sun Wuming handed over several gold coins made of pure gold. Find me some suitable tasks. It's still the same. The difficulty doesn't matter. The closer the better. In addition, I need to customize a batch of equipment. Karen took the gold coin and said after some operations on the computer, room number 820, you can rest for a while, the equipment department still needs some time. Sun Wuming took the key card, turned around and walked into the elevator. And after he left, someone finally couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked, what is this person's origin? Why did Trevor and old Mai run away? The people next to him gave him a disdainful look. Dao Baibai doesn't even know. What kind of New York killer circle are you working with? Go back to Texas to farm as soon as possible. What? He is Dao Baibai. The person who asked the question couldn't help exclaiming, and an indescribable fear appeared in his eyes. Dao Baibai, the most famous killer in New York these years. Dozens of shots have been made, and there is no record of any failure. As long as it is the target he is following, he can directly declare that he is waiting for death. The most frightening thing was that Dao Baibai didn't know how to use any firearms yet. With purely strong fighting skills, the melee ability made this step even more unpredictable. Well, Dao Baibai is naturally Sun Wuming's vest. The name is also a tribute. Life is not easy, but Wuming is a performer. Feeding a Saiyan is no easy task. For food alone, Sun Wuming will spend tens of thousands of dollars a month, plus medicinal baths, nutrient solutions, and training equipment. Being poor and rich is not just talk. After several twists and turns, Sun Wuming finally found a job that suits him best a few years ago. Scavenger. And here, the Continental Hotel is a task release platform. Any registered member can receive or issue tasks at the Continental Hotel. At the same time, no one can perform tasks in the hotel, and the hotel will protect the safety of every guest, which is equivalent to a neutral security zone. Something special is that the common currency of the Continental Hotel is not US dollars, but customized gold coins. If you want to enjoy any service, you need to pay gold coins as a price. For Sun Wuming, the best thing about Continental Hotel is that there are many tasks, the way is wild, and the service is good. It can also help him customize special equipment. The training equipment like those at home came from the Continental Hotel. The reason for coming here this time is also very simple. Sun Wuming once again made himself poor. In addition to tens of millions of dollars in stocks, his cash on hand is less than 100,000 United States dollars. Money is hard to earn and shit is hard to eat. In order not to starve to death. After half a year of retirement, Sun Wuming had to come out again to be a hard-working killer. The hotel staff were extremely efficient and orders that met his requirements were delivered quickly. Kidnapping. Too troublesome and time-consuming. Assassination. In Washington, too lazy to go. This has something to do with flour, go to hell. A sheet of A4 paper was fed into the shredder by Sun Wuming, and he was not very satisfied with these tasks. He doesn't take any tasks either. Those who take a long time will not be accepted, those who pay less money will not be accepted, and those who are underage will not be accepted. As for what mission target is good and evil, whether it is innocent, it's none of his business. Finally, when turning to the last few pages, Sun Wuming found a good job. Kill the 2 leaders of Hell's Kitchen Bear Brotherhood, the first leader Vladimir $2 million, and the second leader Anatoly $1.5 million. Followed by some target people's living habits, activity areas. The 2 people add up to 3.5 million, which is not a low price, enough for Sun Wuming to use for a while. The only problem is, looking at the 2 people in the photo, Sun Wuming's prosopagnosia broke out. These boys all look alike. If a group of boys mix together, he can't tell who is the target at all. Although he could kill them all, but the mission asked him to kill 2 people, wouldn't it be a loss to kill him all? However, after reading the information, it is determined that the 2 mission targets are fat sheep, and they should be able to earn a lot of extra money. Sun Wuming still decided to continue the task. Hey Karen, it's me. Mr. Dao Bye-Bye, please tell me. I took the mission of Mousy Brotherhood. Don't let other people interfere, otherwise don't blame me if you kill by mistake. Without waiting for the other party to answer, Sun Wuming hung up the phone. Sometimes killers fight for a mission in order to grab performance. The reason why Tao Bye-Bye is so famous is because Sun Wuming killed dozens of competitors directly when he was doing missions. After walking out of the room, he was going to see his old friend next door. This old friend's current condition was not very good. When they came to the corridor, they could hear the muffled sounds of fighting and screaming very clearly. Sun Wuming didn't stop, kicked open the door of room 808, and Shi Shiren walked in. A man and a woman who were wrestling together in the room were all stunned and looked over blankly. Among them, the man even cried out in surprise. "Woo, Peach White. I haven't seen you for a few years, it's so late, John." Sun Wuming shrugged and looked at the man with a smile on his face. "How is it, do you need my help?" Hearing what he said, the woman's face changed slightly, and while John Wick was distracted, she kicked him away, rolled to the broken glass, and picked up the pistol that fell on the ground. Then lift it up and aim at Sun Wuming. The movement is quite silky and done in one go. "Careful," John yelled, but it was too late. Boom, boom, boom. 3 consecutive shots were fired, and sparks appeared from the muzzle of the gun. Sun Wuming seemed to move, but didn't seem to move. The 2 of them just felt a flash in front of their eyes, and then nothing happened. "No, it's impossible." The woman's face was full of disbelief. Her 3 shots, but 2 shots in the chest, 1 shot in the head, standard Mozambique shooting skills. Why didn't a single shot hit? Obviously Sun Wuming didn't make any moves. "Perkins, you asked for it. Originally, I wanted to save your life," Sun Wuming said slowly, spread out his right hand casually, and 3 crushed bullet casings fell to the ground, making a jingling sound. Perkins' pupils suddenly contracted. She remembered the legend about Dao Bye-Bye. This person is like a ghost, and it is impossible for him to be harmed by ordinary hot weapons. Someone once sent an elite team to surround and kill him, but in the end, Peach Bye-Bye walked out of the abandoned factory unscathed. Originally, Perkins thought it was just rumors and exaggerated rhetoric. But today she saw it. This is not a rumor. Not a rumor. Perkins is already thinking of quitting and is ready to give up the business, but Sun Wuming will not give her such a chance. Since he dared to attack him, there was no need to stay in this world. Boom, appeared next to Perkins as if teleporting, and punched her in the stomach, without the slightest hint of sympathy. Perkins's eyes were bulging, almost staring out of their sockets, and his stomach was overwhelmed. Wait, she's still useful. Before John could finish speaking, Sun Wuming moved much faster than him, with a little force in his fist, like throwing garbage, and threw Perkins out of the window. Why, you still want to take advantage of the heat. Perkins is indeed in good shape. After all this was done, Sun Wuming turned around and met John with helpless eyes. Wuming, stop joking, I'm not in the mood now. But anyway, it's nice to see you. John gave Sun Wuming a hug. He didn't kill him just because he wanted to ask some information about Wig, which is why Perkins can survive till now. It's a pity that I ran into Sun Wuming. Okay, if you want to know something, just ask that old fox Winston. When something like this happened at the Continental Hotel, he must make up for it. Let's go and have a drink with me. John put his hands on his hips and shook his head helplessly. It can only be the ... So, because of a dog, you killed dozens of your former boss's subordinates, and you plan to kill his son before retiring. In the nightclub, Sun Wuming held a glass of juice and listened to John Wick telling his story. On the stage, the dancer shook her hot body, causing screams after waves. However, neither of them had any intention of watching. No, it's not just a dog, it's a gift from my late wife, and it's the meaning of my life. John drank the whiskey in his glass and looked at Sun Wuming again. It's you. Although I've retired these years, hearing Dao Baibai's name makes my ears callous. Life is forced. If it is not for lack of money, who would want to come to this poor place? The communication between the two is very casual, like old friends for many years. And so it is. A few years ago, John Wick hadn't retired and was the most famous killer in New York. And Sun Wuming has just entered the industry. Although he is very strong, he also made a lot of jokes. For example, because of face blindness, instead of killing the target's elder brother, he killed the younger brother who was the mission issuer. By chance, John Wick heard Sun Wuming's voice was very young, like a primary school student, and persuaded Sun Wuming to change his ways. Then got beaten up. They didn't know each other, and the two became good friends. John taught Sun Wuming a lot of experience. Even though most of them are not needed, Sun Wuming still received this kindness. Later, when John wanted to retire, his former boss Vig posted an impossible task. Sun Wuming provided billions of little help, and John was able to escape unscathed. It also made John always grateful to him. For recognized friends, Sun Wuming will naturally no longer hide his identity. After John retired, he showed his true face. He usually changes his face to avoid troubles, not because he is afraid of anyone. This also makes John suspect that he has been in life for a long time, and his feelings for this Sun Wuming. Are you really a primary school student? The king of elementary school student killers. This world is ridiculous enough. Do you need my help? Sun Wuming drank his own juice, looked at the middle-aged man in front of him and asked seriously. When Sun Wuming first discovered the Continental Hotel, he realized that this world also integrated the worldview of John Wick. And John Wick is the protagonist of this plot. For the sake of a dog, he first killed the underworld, then engaged in the mafia, and finally almost destroyed the high table of the Continental Hotel. You can mess with John Wick, but you can't mess with his dog. If it's just a simple ordinary world, Sun Wuming believes that with the aura of the protagonist and the extreme killing skills of human beings, John was able to get away with facing the high table. But this is an integrated world. Even if there are no mutants, there are always all kinds of weird people who gain inhuman power through weird ways. The poor rely on mutation, and the rich rely on technology. Who knows if the gangster that John provoked has any cards in his hand? I appreciate your kindness, bye. John Wick shook his head, his eyes full of melancholy and vicissitudes, but this is my personal matter, and I must end it with my own hands. Take my dog's life, and I will take your dog's life. In this matter, John will not rely on other people's hands. Well, come to my house if you are in danger. You should remember the address. Definitely. John raised his glass to express his gratitude, and then drank it down. After thinking about it for a while, he said with some sadness. The biggest problem now is the clues. Perkins is dead, and I can't find Vig and his useless son. What's the hurry? The person who sent the clue has already arrived. Su Wuming snapped his fingers. Waiter, have another glass of orange juice. Remember it on my account. From now on, I will bear all the expenses of Mr. Dao Baibai in the bar. I will take it as a small apology for the unpleasant night. An old voice came from behind, and the old man sat next to John, raised a glass and clinked with him. Mr. Wick, I didn't expect to see you again in 4 years. Nice to meet again, Winston. The person who came was the manager of the New York Continental Hotel, Winston. Su Wuming nuzzled. This is not to send information. Winston smiled slightly. That's true. Perkins has done something too much. Even though she has paid the price, it is still the Continental Hotel's dereliction of duty. Just accept this little information, Mr. Wick. He took out a piece of paper and put it on the bar. John Wick opened it and saw the address on it. His expression relaxed a lot. Thanks, Winston. Bye. I'm going back to my room first. You talk to Winston, and I'll visit you after I finish dealing with my injury. Sun Wuming waved his hand and watched John leave. He and Winston were the only ones left at the bar, and the waiter didn't know when he would quietly retreat. Old man, how did you think about what I told you last time? Give me some information about the owners of the high table seats. I will kill them, and then you will take the position and do things for me. Sun Wuming has read Das Kapital as a killer can make some money. Be the boss. Go exploit. To make big money. Once the Winston he supported had a seat on the high table, he would eat away at it step by step and become an elder, taking the entire high table for his own use. That's how to actually make money. What? You said why didn't Sun Wuming do it himself? He is a Saiyan, how could he do such a low-B thing? Even if you do it, you can't let others know, otherwise it would be embarrassing to spread it. Winston smiled wryly. This is not the first time Sun Wuming persuaded him. Bye, can I call you that? Although I long for that position, I can't do something that betrays the high table, which violates the rules. You know, in the dark world, the most important thing is to obey the rules. Without rules, what's the difference between that man and beast? Sun Wuming smiled disdainfully. That's you. Maybe facing a big shot like Ancient One, he has to keep his tail between his legs. Oh, and he has no tail. But apart from the group of magicians living in seclusion in the snow-capped mountains, he didn't dare to move at will, and the dark world that Winston talked about could not threaten his existence. The old man was cowardly on the one hand, and on the other hand he felt that he might not have such strength. After pondering for a moment, Winston said, I heard that you have accepted Brother Vladimir's mission. Well, as long as you complete the mission and get out unscathed, I can reveal something as a friend. Winston knew that the relationship behind the Mousy brothers was very complicated, involving two underground kings in New York. Even so, if Sun Wuming is safe and sound, then he does have ability as his boss. That's a deal. Sun Wuming got up and threw out a coin as a tip. It just so happens that you are here, so accompany me to the equipment department to have a look. Those guys always have good things hidden. Winston followed suit. It's because your requirements are too high, but there have been some breakthroughs recently, which should be able to meet your needs. 2 hours later, Sun Wuming left the Continental Hotel contentedly. He did gain something. 2 brand new wristbands, the file size has not changed, and the weight has reached 400 caddies each. There is also a vest that weighs 1,000 pounds. When he put it on, he jumped up and down like a normal person, not to mention the staff in the equipment department. Even Winston was shocked. I have to say that there is something about the black technology in this world. With several thousand caddies of counterweight hanging on his body, Sun Wuming finally felt that his body was not so floating, and he could support it for a while. As for the task, he planned to do it tomorrow night. The most important task now is to go home and sleep, otherwise he will be found sleeping in the hotel when Gwen Qigong tomorrow. That's definitely scarier than a fight with Thanos. Saturday, Osborne Industrial Building. Gwen was wearing a white coat, with silver-framed eyes. Her heroism disappeared a lot, replaced by a sense of intelligence. Under her leadership, a group of visiting students entered one high-tech laboratory after another. Why do I feel like Stacy knows more about this building than you do? Peter whispered to Harry beside him. Harry Osborn rolled his eyes. I'm just a useless rich second generation, and Stacy is someone who has been praised by several professors. Her authority is much higher than mine. Peter looked at his friend disdainfully. You are the prince of Osborne Industry, you are too careless about your own industry. What are you looking at? Is there anything wrong with wanting to be a rich second generation who eats and waits to die? Harry was furious. After turning around, Gwen saw that it was almost the same, and raised his voice slightly to warn. Okay, students can visit freely if they are interested, but please remember, don't touch any items at will, so as not to cause huge amounts of loss, or even hurt yourself. The crowd dispersed immediately, and Gwen finally had time to spare. Looking at the time, I think my big slob should wake up at this point. Gwen lowered his head and took out his mobile phone, opened the door of a laboratory, and sent a video request to Sun Wuming. Soon, the situation on Sun Wuming's side appeared on the phone. At the moment he seemed to have just woken up and was eating breakfast. But when she saw the breakfast that Sun Wuming had, Gwen still couldn't help laughing, her beautiful eyes bent into crescent moons. Eat a Big Mac early in the morning, it's still double-decker, and I'm not afraid of becoming a big fat man. On the other side, Sun Wuming silently adjusted the angle of the phone to prevent Gwen from seeing the other 20 burgers. Then a smirk curled up on the corner of his mouth. I can't help it. No matter how much I eat, I can't get fat. Unlike some people, the weight in the second year of junior high. Stop talking. Gwen's voice became thinner, and her earlobes were slightly red. This is all her dark history. When I first saw Sun Wuming eating Hesai, no matter how much I ate, I couldn't get fat. Little Gwen was very envious, and ate with him. After half a semester, my weight suddenly soared by 20 caddies, my little face became round twice visible to the naked eye, and my double chin appeared. Looking at Sun Wuming's unchanged appearance, little Gwen realized that he had been fooled. With tears in her eyes, Gwen spent half a year exercising hard before getting her figure back to normal. And because of the fitness, the body is in better shape. Since then, Gwen has regarded this experience as black history. Now that Sun Wuming mentioned it again, Gwen was so excited that she pressed her palm on the table and just happened to slap a spider to death. Spider. First off, I didn't offend any of you. Either way, you are dead, so I will bite you first. Oops, what's wrong, Gwen? Sun Wuming looked at the screen strangely. It's okay, I seem to have broken some experimental equipment. Gwen stuck out her tongue in embarrassment, and then said, I won't tell you now, I have to go and watch some visitors, and I can't let them wander around. Be good, you know. Sun Wuming nodded obediently, and Gwen hung up the phone in satisfaction. Looking at the spider that had been slapped to death by herself, she thought it had crawled in from somewhere, and she didn't pay much attention to it, and threw it directly into the trash can. After breakfast, Sun Wuming watched the news boringly for a while. Mostly news about Stark Industries. As the best way for travelers to make money, he definitely didn't miss out on the stocks of Stark Industries. But he's not the kind of guy who buys on the dip when Stark announces that he's shutting down the arms department. Although he is a playboy, the world has never doubted Stark's ability to develop weapons. The share price is also rising. Every time he makes money, Sun Wuming will exchange part of the money for Stark Industries shares. Over the past few years, the stock price has doubled. You can get a lot of money in dividends every year. And now the timing is critical. When Tony won the Peace Award, Sun Wuming planned to sell all the stocks to avoid the subsequent sharp drop. It's a pity that after searching for a long time, it's all about the big dog who has slept with a certain cover girl and has an affair with a female celebrity. Then Go Dahu proved that it was not a scandal. Too envious. Bah, so shameless. Can you do whatever you want with money? Turning off the browser viciously, Sun Wuming has already planned, when will he steal from the rich and give to the poor? Go and see how John is doing. Being idle is also idle. Sun Wuming decided to visit his old friend to avoid any accidents to him. The perception force dispersed, and among the tens of millions of people in New York, Sun Wuming accurately captured John Wick's aura, changed his appearance, and teleported there. The Yodrat star has a wide range of teleportation, fast speed, and low consumption. The only disadvantage is that you must perceive the opponent's chi before you can teleport to the opponent's position. If you want to go to some uninhabited places, there is no way. Swish. The figure of Sun Wuming came over a church. In the church, John Wick was showing off his might and had to shoot twice at everyone. The original, bright and holy, church instantly became a purgatory on earth. Thanks to the excellent matching mechanism in Europe and the United States, the surrounding residents have long been familiar with it. Some people even lay curiously on the windowsill, watching the bustle. A gust of wind blew through, and Sun Wuming walked into the church, ignoring the river of blood around him, and walked all the way down the secret room behind. I found John Wick, who was about to burn this place to ashes. Hey, wait, aren't you a waste? Looking at the jewels and cash all over the place in front of him, Sun Wuming became anxious and stopped him quickly. You are not short of money. I am short of money, I can hardly afford food. How did you come? John was startled by the sudden appearance of Sun Wuming, and then he was speechless to see that Sun Wuming skillfully took out a big bag and stuffed all the previous things into it. Some checks and ledgers that could not be cashed were left in disgust. How can I know you are so big-hearted if I don't come here, prodigal son? After stuffing the sack to the brim, Sun Wuming smiled. Carrying the sack in one hand, the other patted John on the shoulder with satisfaction. Let's go, let's find that Vig together. Don't worry, I'll take a look and promise not to go in. Chapter 11. John's mouth twitched wildly. I am in front of the bullets, and you follow behind to explode gold coins. Is there still humanity? But thinking that he was the one who did not let Sun Wuming intervene, John felt shortness of breath again. Forget it, he can't take the money anyway, so it's better to make it cheaper for his own people. Seeing John nodded, Sun Wuming was overjoyed and asked him to wait a while. Teleported to his home, put down the sack, and took another bigger one. Sun Wuming appeared in front of John again. The whole process takes no more than 3 seconds. John looked at Sun Wuming enviously. People with special abilities are like bugs. The ability to appear and disappear with this hand alone is enough to make Sun Wuming firmly in the position of the king of killers. What's more, the opponent has even more terrifying combat power. This makes him such an ordinary person who plays with guns. How can he live? Shaking his head, John didn't think about those things. The most important thing now was to find Wig. Killed his son to avenge his dog. After burning the rest, there are not only shady ledgers, but also a lot of evidence of bribery that can threaten congressmen. These things are Vig's lifeblood. After doing all this, John picked up a car from nowhere and took Sun Wuming to Brooklyn. 3 people on the roof, 2 in the garage, 2 at the main entrance, and 3 snipers on the roof opposite. As for the inside of the house, there are several people gathered together. There should be the Vig you were looking for inside. Sun Wuming had never met Vig, nor did he remember the chi on him, so he could only tell John this way. Thank you. John nodded, parked the car to a safe place, checked the equipment on his body, and touched it like a ghost. With Sun Wuming's report just now, John groped into the villa with almost no effort. And here Vig also just got the news that his secret base was taken away, and he was going to settle accounts with John, but he was found at the door. After some negotiations, John got his son's place. I won't go with you, and the rest are all idiots. Sun Wuming said. John looked at the villa, hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I see. Vig was his former boss. John would not kill him because of this friendship, but Sun Wuming had no scruples. Smiling and waving to John who drove away, Sun Wuming returned to the villa. Half an hour later, carrying his achievements today, Sun Wuming once again came to the Continental Hotel. Karen, let's deal with these, and exchange them all into US dollars and transfer them to my account. Don't be too shady, be careful, I will settle accounts with your boss. In the United States you can mess with the CIA, the FBI, and even the SHIELD, but only the IRS can't mess with it. Even if it is the money earned from robbery, it has to be taxed. Sun Wuming is very heartbroken, and I still have to wash it honestly to avoid follow-up troubles. But this is also good, as long as the tax is paid, this is legal income. Karen looked at the sacks of cash and jewelry on the ground with an unusually calm expression. He asked the staff to carry them down and said to Sun Wuming with a smile. It will take about 3 to 5 working days. Don't worry, Mr. Taobaibai, the hotel will definitely choose the best way to transfer it to your account. 20%. If the loss exceeds 20%, I'll immediately complain to Winston. Sun Wuming raised 2 fingers and said seriously. Mr. Taobaibai, this. Karen's smile also turned into a wry smile. Generally, the cost of money laundering and tax payment is at least 40%, and Sun Wuming cuts half of it. If this business is accepted, the Continental Hotel will not only make no money, but may also lose money. In desperation, he could only ask the boss for instructions first. After listening to it, Winston was silent for 2 seconds and said, Promise him, Osborne Industries. Gwen at the moment is not in a good state. She was bitten when she slapped the spider to death in the morning. There was a small wound on the white palm of at the moment, which had started to redden and swell, just like being bitten by a mosquito. If it's just like this, that's all. From just now, Gwen felt a little dizzy in his head. his senses became very sharp, and he could hear all kinds of noisy voices very clearly. After seeing off the last visitor, Gwen greeted Dr. Connors with a strong discomfort and left in a hurry. When she got home, she was lying on the bed sweating profusely. When Helen came back from shopping, she was shocked to see her daughter. Immediately wanted to send her to the hospital. "Mom, I'm fine, maybe I've caught a cold, just let me sleep." Gwen insisted that she didn't like the atmosphere of the hospital very much. Seeing that her daughter was so persistent, Helen no longer insisted, and took out the fever-reducing medicine at home and fed it to Gwen, then let her rest well. "If it doesn't improve at night, you must go to the hospital." Gently closing the room door for Gwen, Helen called after thinking about it, and then called Sun Wuming. "Wuming, Gwen is not feeling well. If you're okay, come and see her." Why did Gwen have a fever? After receiving the call, Sun Wuming's expression was a little surprised. "I was still full of energy during the video in the morning, why did I have a fever after a few hours?" He had just left the Continental Hotel at this time, and after hanging up on Helen's phone, he didn't dare to delay, and arrived at the apartment where Gwen's family was located at the fastest speed. "Wuming, how did you come so fast?" Helen was also very surprised to see Sun Wuming, who had arrived at the door within a few minutes. "I was just coming to play with Gwen, and just got downstairs, Auntie." That's it. Helen didn't think much about it, and stepped back to let Sun Wuming in. "Gwen just took the antipyretics, and she probably hasn't slept yet. You should go and have a look." "I know, Auntie." Sun Wuming blinked, and carefully pushed open the girl's door. What came into view was the picture of Gwen lying quietly on the bed, the girl's blonde hair stuck to her cheek due to sweating. Sun Wuming's pupils shrunk. The girl's anger has changed. Walking to the head of the bed, Sun Wuming sat on a chair, quietly looking at the sleeping girl. His heart was far from being so calm. At the moment Gwen's chi was very unstable, and even when he fell asleep, he was still rising at an extremely fast speed. If an ordinary person's chi is 5 units, then Gwen had 7 to 8 units because of his regular fitness. But now, Gwen's gas was going to 50, 60, 70. And still rising constantly. Also because of this reason, her body felt a little hot, which looked like she had a fever. But Sun Wuming could perceive that Gwen's chi was full of vitality and very healthy. This is just a measurement, do not substitute it into Dragon Ball's combat power system. What made him so silent was that he didn't expect that in this world, it wasn't Garfield who took the Spider-Man road. It is not the Dutch brother Peter who may appear in a few years, but my own Green Plum. In Marvel, Ching-Mei Gwen wants to be Spider-Man, will he be used to worship the heavens? Oh, he's a Saiyan, that's fine. Sun Wuming breathed a sigh of relief, false alarm, false alarm. After all, every Spider-Man is a friend and relative in the end, and he becomes alone. He still had to panic for 2 seconds to show respect. But if you think about it carefully, Spider-Gwen is not bad either. That close-fitting battle suit has full attack speed and crit. It's a pity that Gwen has short hair and can't comb the ponytails, otherwise she even has a steering wheel. Sitting by Gwen's side for 2 hours like this, Sun Wuming was not ready to leave until the chi on her body stabilized. He knew that this was because the transformation brought about by the spider gene had basically been completed. The rest is to train or gradually become stronger over time, until the upper limit of this form. Auntie, Gwen's fever has subsided, so there shouldn't be any serious problems. Fever gone, that's good, thank you for understanding, Wuming. Helen breathed a sigh of relief when she heard this, and saw Gwen sleeping soundly through the open door, and didn't bother her. George will take some time to come back, let me make you something to eat first. No need, Auntie. Sun Wuming declined, he still had work to do tonight, so he made up an excuse and left Gwen's house. Instead of using the teleport to return to his home, Sun Wuming walked slowly on the street. As night falls, the combination of neon lights and skyscrapers makes the city full of luxury and luxury. The men and women on the street were dressed brightly and smiled wantonly. The Big Apple City has always been like this. Behind the bustling, there are countless unknown evils. It can be said that one thought of heaven and one thought of hell. The previous Sun Wuming would not think about these things, he has the aggressiveness of a Saiyan, and at the same time has the mentality of a salted fish from his previous life. If the world is destroyed, Sun Wuming will certainly not stand idly by, because he needs such a colorful world to provide a basis for various enjoyments. But what crime, justice and evil, that is what the police and the so-called superhero need to consider. Not anymore. Just thinking about it with your feet, you can imagine what kind of path Gwen will take in the future. He doesn't care about justice, but he cares about the young girl he has raised for so many years. Originally, Sun Wuming planned to let Gwen live a carefree and happy life for decades. Then he found the means of longevity from the universe, and the two retired together, shamelessly until eternity. But now it seems that I have to find a time to have a showdown with Gwen, to teach her some chi usage skills, and to increase her combat effectiveness. This will ensure the safety of the girl. Sorry, I don't know if Gwen will be angry if she knows that she has been hiding it from her for so long. I will. Walking to the door of the house without knowing it, Sun Wuming sighed. He's in a bad mood right now. So it needs to be vented. Hell's Kitchen, officially known as Clint. No matter in this world or the world before Sun Wuming traveled, they are all famous existences. World crime looks at the United States, the United States crime looks at New York. New York crime, then you have to watch Hell's Kitchen. This area in Manhattan, not too far from Wall Street, should have been a prime location with great commercial value. But the crowd here is a mixed bag, and it is the first stop for black immigrants of all races to come to New York. There are more people involved with the underworld than normal people. Over time, Hell's Kitchen has become a no-nonsense zone. The officials turn a blind eye, close one eye, as long as they don't make too much trouble, they will pretend nothing happened. And for every traverser, Hell's Kitchen, Jinbin, this is the best novice village for leveling. If you haven't done Jinbin, you are too embarrassed to say that you traveled through the Marvel world. Sun Wuming also came here to gain experience for a while, but due to his rapid progress, he broke through this map in a month or two. It's been several years and I haven't set foot here. The last time seemed to be in elementary school. Stop, Rob, both hands up. Sun Wuming continued to walk with a serious face. I still haven't slept enough today, and I have hallucinations. Why did you hear the sound when there was no one there? Fake, tell you to stop, do you hear me? It was the sound just now. This time Sun Wuming saw it, the two rows of big white teeth protruding from the top and bottom, with the help of the dim lights of the convenience store in the distance. Finally, I could barely make out the outlines of the two figures. One was holding a machete and the other was pointing a gun at Sun Wuming. Sun Wuming was very speechless. As expected of Hell's Kitchen, it's only past 9 o'clock, and the robbers are so blatant. What made him even more speechless are the racial abilities of these two black bees so powerful. With his eyesight, he had to look carefully to see it. Did the two of you just smuggle in from the black state? The color is so pure. Brother, what does he mean? The BLCKM*N holding the machete asked blankly. Idiot, he's racist against us. A minute later, the younger brother among the two black men knelt on the ground, looking in fear at Sun Wuming who was still 4 or 5 meters away from him. That look didn't look like looking at another person, it was more like looking at another devil. Just now, this man's finger emitted a blue light, and his eldest brother was blasted into blood mist. And that finger is now pointing to his head. Want to live? BL*CKM*N. Sun Wuming asked softly. There is still something about the ability of this race, at least it will make him afraid. What are you afraid of? Definitely don't dare to bombard the opponent with punches and swords. If your hands are dirty, you have to wash them, at least to wash off a layer of skin to become clean. Otherwise, why would Sun Wuming use qigong bullets against a farm implement? It's like shooting mosquitoes with a cannon. Think, boss, spare me. The black man knelt on the ground and almost kowtowed, and only hoped that Sun Wuming would let him go as a fart. As for what racism, you discriminate casually. No, that is not discrimination, it is an objective evaluation. Take me to this place if you want to live. Sun Wuming threw a piece of paper, which recorded the address of Brother Mousy. After seeing the above address clearly, the black man hesitated for a while. He is a mess here, so he naturally knows what this place represents. But looking at the finger that had already lit up, he immediately made a decision. Boss, I'll take you right away. 13th Street, a seemingly abandoned dilapidated factory building, is Mowzy Brotherhood's hidden stronghold. It's very close to an abandoned pier, apparently abandoned, but that's just for the public. For these criminal gangs, it is the best smuggling route. And this group of Mowzy Brotherhood is responsible for exporting the flour produced by the hand to overseas, and the main destination is the mainland of Maoshong country. Recently, however, their business has had some problems. A few nosy social loafers suddenly appeared in Hell's Kitchen, and at night, they hindered the normal development of New York's economy. Already 2 shipments have been broken by them. One is Daredevil, the other is Iron Fist, and the scariest one is the Punisher. The first 2 can't kill people, but the last one is scary, and it's here to kill people. Brother, we are a pillar industry in New York, okay, we paid taxes. Who gave you the right to hurt taxpayers? Recalling Mrs. Gao's warning to him in the morning, the face of the big boss Vladimir was so gloomy that water dripped out. He looked at his subordinates. If there is another problem with this batch of goods tonight, then neither the Gold Union nor the Hand will be able to accommodate us. This Hell's Kitchen can't stay here any longer. Cheer me up, and shoot and kill those who get in the way. Pistols don't work, just throw me grenades and launch bazookas. Just make sure the goods get out, and I'll take care of you no matter how big the trouble is. In the empty factory building, Vladimir's roar echoed. A group of juniors also showed confidence. Hola. At this moment, an untimely voice appeared very abrupt. Can you still get the bazooka? In an instant, everyone's eyes looked like the person who was speaking. On the high beam, Sun Wuming was sitting there, swaying his legs casually. Who are you? Vladimir asked, waved his hands calmly, and several younger brothers crept to find the angle, took out their guns, and aimed at Sun Wuming. Under the light of the halo, Sun Wuming's face was somewhat blurred, but his features could be seen. No mask, not Daredevil, not farm complexion, so not that indestructible weirdo, Luke Cage. As for the Punisher, it's even more impossible. The Punisher never talks nonsense. If it was him, this place would have turned into a sea of flames by now. Vladimir's face turned green. Another nosy pop up. Sun Wuming asked instead. You are Vladimir, right, so who is your brother Anatoly? This group of hairy guys are all 5 big and 3 figure, and they are all golden-haired. He really can't tell who is who. Suka is not listed. I am, so what's the problem? A golden retriever spoke grumpily. That's it. Sun Wuming nodded knowingly. In the next second, everyone present was shocked, and Sun Wuming's figure had disappeared from the beam. Find it. Find someone. Vladimir yelled. Anatoly's eyes blurred, and he saw that the man was close at hand. It's good to have a bad mouth, so you can die quickly, and you can reincarnate as soon as possible. Sun Wuming muttered to himself. His movements seemed slow but fast, and a brain crash popped out like a joke. And then Anatoly's mind cracked. Boom. The watermelon was shattered, and the red and white cuties mixed together and stuck to the faces of several people nearby. Their expressions were all frozen, completely unresponsive. Some people even licked it subconsciously, and then retched crazily. It should be said that he deserved to be the boss. Vladimir was the first to recover, and witnessed his younger brother being killed. His eyes turned red, and he looked like a madman. Kill him, kill him. Da 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 da. Hearing the boss's order, the younger brothers took out their weapons one after another. The sound of shooting continued, and even accidentally injured their own people. Sun Wuming didn't dodge or dodge. A blue flame visible to the naked eye erupted from his body, like an indestructible shield, stopping all the bullets. Seeing this scene, those Mowzy Brotherhood members were frightened silly. What's this? Superman, I wanted to spare your life. After all, no one bought your life. Sun Wuming sighed. He hated the feeling of being prostituted for nothing. But since he was shot, he was the enemy, and he was the enemy, why let him live? What if a protagonist walks out of it, luck is against the sky, and he, a Saiyan, is hammered to the ground? So for the sake of safety, Sun Wuming decided to send them to meet God together. There were constant screams in the huge factory, but the duration was very short, and within a minute, calm returned. Only Sun Wuming was left standing alone. The limbs and arms on the ground were broken, and the blood flowed like a river. After seeing it, normal people might not be able to help but spit it out. But Sun Wuming didn't feel any discomfort at all, instead he felt very comfortable. Well, it's all due to Saiyan blood. He was a good student back then, the first batch of well-behaved kids wearing red scarves. How could he be so violent? Boom. After packing away all the cash and valuables, Sun Wuming lit a fire and burned the body and the flour and blood bags inside. Yes, besides the flour, Sun Wuming also accidentally discovered that there are a lot of blood bags in a freezer. Thousands of bags of blood are placed together, which is creepy under the cold light. As for why Mao Zi collected so much blood, Sun Wuming probably has a guess. But it didn't make any sense. There are too many ghosts and monsters in this world, and we should deal with them when we meet them. Sun Wuming felt that he could die of exhaustion. Hey, takeaway number 9527 has been delivered. Please check it. If there is no problem, please click to confirm receipt. Okay, sir, we will verify as soon as possible, and your shipping fee will arrive immediately after verification. After hanging up the phone, Sun Wuming's figure flashed and disappeared into the night. 10 minutes later, city cleaning trucks and fire trucks arrived one after another, and the fire was extinguished. Several people dressed as cleaners walked into the abandoned factory, inspected it carefully, and left soon. And Sun Wuming's special mobile phone soon received the bank text message. Dear customer, your account in the New York Rural Credit Union has transferred 3.5 million yuan, and the current balance is 3.574 million yuan. This money has been tax paid, and you can spend it as you like, and no one will check it. Seeing that the balance has returned to 7 figures, Sun Wuming felt more at ease for the time being, and went to the basement to exercise in a happy mood. After finishing this order, he can rest for a while. In Hell's Kitchen, the flames soaring into the sky can be clearly seen in almost half of the city, stirring the hearts of countless people. In the dark night, Daredevil wearing a red and black battle suit stood on the top of the building, determined the direction of the fire through the sound of the wind, and said in a deep voice. It's Vladimir's base, something happened there. You blind man is more sensitive than me, do you know what I ate at night? Beside him, Luke Cage muttered, the ability of farm tools made him speak like rap. That burrito you have for lunch, with salmon and boiled beans, it's a terrible combination. You really know. Daredevil didn't look back. Are new people entering Hell's Kitchen? There is no movement from the Hand and Jinbin tonight. It's definitely not what they did. Whoever it is, it's wrong for him to do this. He smelled blood, and the disgusting, barbecue smell. I knew in my heart that another tragedy must have happened there. Across a distance of several kilometers, it seems to have seen the end of Mao Zi Brotherhood. Walking in the dark, Daredevil is protecting the city in his own way. He does not hesitate to use violence, but always refuses to kill anyone, even if that person is guilty. He must be judged by the law. What happened tonight has undoubtedly touched Daredevil's bottom line. Is that you, Frank? Iron Fist didn't hear Daredevil's whisper, but he felt very happy. The flour circulated through Mao Zi Brotherhood has harmed countless people and families. Killing them like this is simply doing charity. If you meet, you must have 2 drinks with the other party. United Construction Company. On the surface, this is just an ordinary construction company, but it has strong power, abundant capital flow, and a very good reputation in Hell's Kitchen. But in the dark, it's actually the Hand's stronghold in New York. The Hand is an ancient evil organization with 5 founders, known as the 5 Fingers. The 5 are all traitors from the legendary Kunlun. Their greatest wish is to find the keel and obtain real eternal life. Through the window, Mrs. Gao, one of the 5 Fingers, was staring at the direction of the fire, with anger also shining in her eyes. She had just handed over the goods to those mobs today, but something happened at night. The successive losses were heavy, and Mrs. Gao, who was rich and powerful, could hardly bear it. Don't let me catch you. Otherwise, I must let you know that there are many things in this world that are more terrible than death. Mrs. Gao's voice was like a ghost, and suddenly several masked ninjas appeared behind her. Check it out for me. Find out who is so daring enough to touch something belonging to my Hand society. Have you succeeded? You are indeed the king of killers in the Continental Hotel. In a luxurious apartment, Wilson Fisk, who was as strong as a bear, was wearing a white suit and eating steak meticulously. His actions are so standard that anyone who sees them will praise him as a gentleman. But only those who know and understand the existence of Wilson Fisk, that is, the king. Hidden under this gentleman's appearance is a beast-like mind. Vicious, cunning, cruel, tyrannical. All negative words can be applied to him. Boss, the brother over there has sent news that except for a few people, Mousy has been wiped out. It is impossible for the hand to bypass you for flower business in the future. Isn't this exactly the result we want? Wesley. Jin wiped the corners of his mouth slowly. Hell's Kitchen, no, the whole of New York is my city, and any crime should be under my control. Only in this way can this hopeless city usher in true order. Having said that, it is already very clear that it is Jin Bin who paid the killer to get rid of the Vladimir brothers. In Hell's Kitchen, the two biggest forces are undoubtedly the Kingpin and the Hand. Both cooperate and confront each other. The reason why Jin Bin asked Continental Hotel to take action was to cut off the lifeline of the Hand Association's external transportation, so that it had to rely on itself to continue shipping. But Jin didn't expect that the hired killer not only killed the target, but even gave a lot of extra gifts. This also made him love talent. Wesley, find a way to find that peachy message, and ask him to come and meet me. Jin Bing ordered softly. Yes, I will contact the Continental Hotel. Jin Bin nodded and continued to taste the steak and red wine. He was in a good mood. Not just for taking out the Vladimir brothers, but another mob gang in the city was also taken down by John Wick of the Continental Hotel. The two forces disappeared in an instant, and a large piece of fat was placed in front of them, just like this steak. Let him slaughter. Sun Wuming didn't know that he had attracted so many people's attention just by doing a task. The pattern of Hell's Kitchen has also begun to change quietly. Daredevil was after him, and so was the Hand. What's even more ridiculous is that Jin Bing actually wanted to recruit him. If Sun Wuming knew, his 8-pack abs would definitely be shaking with laughter. It is not so outrageous for an ant to want to subdue an elephant. Sun Wuming has always had only one attitude towards this recognized novice village of Marvel Traversers. Children play house, just play with their own. Don't mess with me. Stacy's. Gwen fell into a drowsy sleep until the early hours of the morning, and then got up from the bed in a daze. What happened? Gwen clutched her head in pain, her eyes widened. She felt her head was about to explode, but her spirit was too good. Any wind and grass in the surroundings was taken into her ears, and even a bug outside the window, she could clearly see the pair of thin wings. Subconsciously wanted to get up, but Gwen was horrified to find that the mattress was firmly stuck to her hands and was lifted up together. Things weighing tens of caddies are the same as having no weight. Ordinary people gain power beyond ordinary people. Usually the first reaction is fear. Rather than the usual fantasies, the idea that after obtaining a super ability, you will go to the sky and enter the earth, domineering. If he can immediately accept his own mutation, such a person is also a talent. But obviously Gwen is not, she is just an ordinary beautiful girl. The sudden change made her lose her size. Due to the inability to control the power of sudden skyrocketing, coupled with unstable mentality. The originally tidy boudoir quickly became messy, the alarm clock was shattered by a slap, and deep palm prints were left on the solid wood writing desk. He wanted to go out, but the doorknob was pulled off. Gwen's commotion was quickly noticed by George. Without disturbing the sleeping Helen, he quietly walked to the door of Gwen's room, and asked when he heard a voice from inside. Gwen, are you okay? In the room, the girl who was still sitting and struggling with bra stuck to her hand was taken aback, and said quickly. Dad, did I disturb you? Sorry. No, dear girl, Mr. George quickly denied. In this privacy-conscious country, not even parents can easily enter their daughter's room. He just stood at the door and continued to ask. I just heard some movement, do you need Dad's help? No, no need, I accidentally knocked over the water glass just now, and now I have cleaned it up. The girl quickly refused, absolutely not letting her father see what the house looks like now. George didn't insist anymore, he just asked Gwen to rest more, and left the door. Even though her footsteps were very light, Gwen could be sure that her father had gone far away, so she breathed a sigh of relief. She suddenly discovered that this strange ability that suddenly appeared was quite useful. All of a sudden, the panic in Gwen's heart dissipated a lot. Sunday. Sun Wuming got up very early in the morning. After a simple wash, he took a walk to Gwen's house. I also bought a few breakfasts to take with me on the way. How did you come? Because it was Sunday, George had a rare day off at home. When Sun Wuming came, he was sitting at the dining table reading the newspaper. The fire in Hell's Kitchen dominated the headlines last night, and the official cause was a gas explosion. As the chief of the New York Police Department, Mr. George naturally knew the inside story, and at the moment was frowning. Seeing that Sun Wuming came to Gwen so early, he was even more upset. This brat wants to take away just one day's chance to get along with his daughter. I'm going to see Gwen, uncle. Facing George's black face, Sun Wuming didn't care. Poor Mr. George is undoubtedly at the bottom of the food chain in this family. As long as Helen and Gwen were satisfied with him, it didn't matter that George didn't like him. To be honest, Sun Wuming still understands the feelings of this old father. If he has a daughter in the future, if others want to abduct her, well, it's not impossible. Let's defeat him as a Saiyan first. What? You can't even beat a Saiyan. What qualifications do you have to associate with my daughter? ... Aunt Helen, you probably haven't eaten breakfast yet. I bought this from the branch store on the corner of the street. It's better to be Wuming, unlike someone who wakes up in the morning like an old man. Helen took the breakfast with a smile, and looked at the someone in her mouth with a half smile. Single quote. George, this all hits me. Sure enough, this kid is my nemesis. After a brief chat with Helen, Sun Wuming did not forget his main purpose. Gently knocked on Gwen's door, and soon he got a response. Come in, Wuming. Sun Wuming walked in and glanced quickly. It looked the same as last time, but he still found the palm print on the writing desk and the fragments of the alarm clock in the trash can. There was a trace of panic in Gwen's eyes. What are you looking at? You can't look around in a girl's room. You are more familiar with my room than I am, so I just take a look at what's there. Sun Wuming shrugged. It seems that you are well, then I can feel more at ease. Sun Wuming could feel that the energy emitted from Gwen's body was hundreds of times stronger than before, and it was extremely stable. Spider Gwen, fully born. He sat on the chair, looked at Gwen, looked him up and down under the other's somewhat embarrassed eyes, and said in surprise. Why did you suddenly grow taller? Yes, why didn't I feel it? Gwen was taken aback, she didn't even notice it herself. Sun Wuming silently pointed to Gwen's little fair feet and exposed ankles. The pajamas didn't fit and I haven't found out yet. Oh, it may be that I have eaten a lot like you recently. I am still a child and I am still growing my body. It must be that you haven't noticed my changes recently, and you only found out today. Say, are you looking at other women? Gwen took advantage of being a woman, quickly found a suitable reason, and beat her back. The beautiful big eyes glared at Sun Wuming, viciously, making him dumbfounded. In fact, Gwen is also struggling in her heart. Should she tell Sun Wuming about the changes in her body? It's not distrust, or intimacy. Gwen was just worried that her changes would scare the boy. He was even a little afraid that Wuming would treat her as a monster. This question has troubled her all night, and it was only now that Gwen made up her mind. Conceal everything first, and wait for the right opportunity to show down to Wuming. Although he couldn't see the entanglement in Gwen's heart, Sun Wuming could feel that his childhood was in a very unstable emotional stage. So I deliberately changed the topic and stopped talking about those sensitive issues. Sure enough, the girl gradually returned to normal, and a bright smile appeared on her face again. Looking at the sunny weather, Gwen became interested. Wuming, let's go shopping. I just want to buy some new clothes. Sun Wuming nodded indifferently. I can do whatever you want. Looking at the motionless boy sitting on the chair like an old man, Gwen scolded. Then go out. How can I change clothes when you are here? An hour later, when Sun Wuming fell asleep on the sofa, Gwen was finally ready. The well-dressed girl was eye-catching, and her slim trousers turned into cropped trousers, revealing her fair ankles. The pink shirt is undulating on the body, and if it is replaced by Pikachu, it can also support a large arc. Although only 16 years old, the girl has already grown up, exuding the charm of a woman. Perhaps due to the influence of the spider gene, Sun Wuming felt that Gwen's skin was smoother, like milk. I really want to try it. The kind that sucks and sucks. Let's go. Gwen was very satisfied with Sun Wuming's eyes glued to her. Isn't it just to see the obsessive eyes of the sweetheart? Holding Wuming's arm happily, Gwen waved to her parents. Dad, Mom, I went shopping with Wu Ming, so I don't have to cook my lunch at noon. Okay. This is Helen. Remember to come back early in the evening before I call. This is George. Know it. Gwen waved his hand indifferently, winked at his mother, pulled Wu Ming and hurried away. It wasn't until downstairs that she breathed a sigh of relief, and said with a headache. Phew, my father has been controlling me more and more recently. He will call me when I get home after 7 o'clock. Really, I'm not a kid anymore. Sun Wuming pouted, but didn't answer the question. What he is worried about is that you take a child back. After taking a taxi, the two went straight to Macy's in Herald Square in the center of Manhattan. This Macy's has nothing to do with the Macy who played football. Macy's is the most prestigious large department store in the United States with a history of nearly 100 years. Inside, you can find any luxury brand in the world, everything you need. Just earned some living expenses yesterday, Sun Wuming will not treat Gwen badly. The two had just arrived at the place and got a lot of attention when they got out of the car. Sun Wuming's height of 1.85 meters, perfect muscles and handsome appearance, each item directly pokes the G-spot of these European and American big waves. Water dripped from the eyes of many women looking at him. And Gwen, after being bitten by a spider, also grew a lot, about 1.72 meters. A pair of long legs, not much worse than Sun Wuming. Many passers-by looked sideways at the combination of handsome men and beautiful women, which aroused the dissatisfaction of their companions. Sun Wuming didn't care about the eyes of passers-by at all, and Gwen's thoughts were all on shopping, and she took his hand and started shopping directly. Not only for herself, but also for Sun Wuming. Shark waist, male dog back, bat back. Even if Gwen often looks at Sun Wuming's figure, she will become a nympho from time to time. Such a good rack of clothes, what kind of exercise clothes to wear every day is really a waste. Gwen, please forgive me, I don't even bother to buy so many clothes. Sun Wuming begged for mercy with a bitter face, allowing him to go shopping with him could still bear it, but every time he entered a store, he had to change a lot of clothes, which was simply torture. 5 pieces, I'll buy you 5 pieces, okay. Gwen begged, her big eyes blinking. Okay. It's a deal, just try 5 times. It turned out that Sun Wuming was still young, and Gwen was talking about buying 5, not trying 5. Turning around in a circle, the body directly does not belong to me. And Gwen has also gained a lot, she has changed all the clothes on her body, and almost can't hold the small bag in her hand. There are their own and Sun Wuming's. Although the family conditions are good, but after such consumption, even if Mr. George is exhausted, Gwen can't afford it. These are all paid by Sun Wuming. In the past, Gwen was full of resistance to spending Sun Wuming's money, but she was persuaded in the end. You wear these beautiful clothes for me to see, and you will be mine in the future, so these clothes are not for you. I bought it for myself. After a CPU increase, he confessed in a disguised way, and the whole little Gwen was confused, and unconsciously thought that what Sun Wuming said was reasonable. Since then, he has not resisted so much, he can buy clothes and the like if he wants to. However, Gwen was also a little puzzled as to where Sun Wuming's money came from. In this regard, Sun Wuming is also prepared. He took out his stock account and showed Gwen, and after seeing the 8-figure Stark Industries stock, Gwen understood everything. With the good performance of Stark Industries, the dividend alone is not a small figure. Let's go eat. What would you like to eat? After handing over all the things to the service staff of the department store and asking them to send them back to Sun Wuming's home, Gwen turned her head and asked. Sun Wuming was so tired that he collapsed on the sofa. Meat, I want to eat meat. No matter what, it was really tiring to go shopping with girls, he would rather fight Frieza than go shopping with Gwen for another afternoon. Then go eat steak, which best meets your requirements. Gwen blinked, I'll treat you to this meal. Sun Wuming pretended to be vicious, then I will eat you poor. The man spit and nailed, and he will do what he says. Even if he said that he wanted to make Gwen poor, then Sun Wuming would never soften his mouth. In a high-level restaurant, under Gwen's painful eyes, Sun Wuming directly showed off the 5 largest steaks in a row, and then stopped with a lot of enthusiasm. You have eaten up all my pocket money this month. Gwen wanted to cry but had no tears. Not only has her pocket money been eaten up this month, but even her small coffers have also been consumed. Gwen is already regretting why she chose such an expensive restaurant. This guy should eat the golden arches. Facing the girl's accusation, Sun Wuming seemed plausible. You said you wanted to hire me, and you picked the shop, so why are you still blaming me? Besides, you ate a lot yourself. Gwen blushed, and her appetite increased a lot, and she ate 2 steaks for 1 meal. Stop talking. Gwen glared at the young man viciously, and Gwen got up and left. Hey, do you still want to go shopping? Stop shopping, go to your house and rest. Sun Wuming followed Gwen out of the restaurant in 2 or 3 steps, but found her standing where she was, and couldn't help being a little puzzled. What's wrong? Look over there, is it Parker? Sun Wuming looked in the direction Gwen pointed, and found that the person waiting at the red light was his Queen homework proofreader, Peter Parker. Peter. At the traffic lights, Sun Wuming yelled, and in an instant, a dozen people turned their heads and looked behind them. In the United States, the name Peter is as common as Zhang Wei in Longguo. Every few steps, you can meet someone named Peter. There are so many people at the traffic lights, even if there are more than a dozen people who turn around, it is considered rare. And when they saw someone they didn't know, these people turned their heads one after another, pretending that nothing happened to avoid embarrassment. Only Peter Parker came over with a smile on his face. Wuming, I didn't expect to meet you here. At this time, he saw Gwen next to Sun Wuming again, and the smile on his face became ambiguous. You guys are on a date. Yes, Wuming admitted generously, in exchange for Gwen's rolling eyes, but she did not refute. Just a little embarrassed. What about you? You are not at home at noon, what are you doing in Manhattan alone? Peter scratched his head embarrassedly. I became Dr. Connor's intern and I'm going to the Osborne building now. Hearing this answer, Sun Wuming was also a little surprised. Is it quite capable? He could clearly sense that the chi on Peter's body hadn't changed in any way, it was still at the level of an ordinary person. It means that he has not been bitten by a spider. But even so, he still established contact with Dr. Lizard. It has to be said that although fate is illusory, it does have traces of its existence. Then come on, with the recommendation letter from Dr. Connors, you should be able to choose a good university. Sun Wuming encouraged Gwen a few words, then bid farewell and prepared to take Gwen home. Looking at the backs of the two intimately, Peter couldn't help showing envy in his eyes. When can he and his MJ become the relationship between Wuming and Gwen? By the way, Gwen and MJ are still members of the same band. Do you want to ask Wuming for help and let Gwen give him a trick? The traffic light turned green again, and Peter shook his head, temporarily forgetting his love for his children. The most important thing now is to help Dr. Connors complete the anti-life equation and develop a drug that will make people broken limb reborn. In that case, fame and wealth will naturally roll in, and it will be much easier to pursue MJ. I didn't expect Parker to be selected by Dr. Connors. I don't know if it was his luck or misfortune. Back home, Sun Wuming started exercising, and Gwen sat on a chair, dangling her slender legs, chatting with him about some gossip about Osborne Industry. Recently, the people on the board of directors have been very dissatisfied with his lack of research results. It is said that the experiment will be shut down soon. Those capitalists only know about benefits, and they don't know how to take a long-term view at all. In the end, Gwen felt a little unfair for Dr. Connors. I think it's normal. Sun Wuming was doing push-ups and discussing with Gwen. The purpose of doing business is to make money. No one wants to support a doctor who has not achieved any results for more than 10 years. How much do you think Dr. Connors costs Osborne Industries each year? Gwen was speechless, not knowing how to answer for a while. But science is like this. Not all efforts will be rewarded. Many discoveries are the result of a flash of inspiration. But you can't ask Osborne Industries to wait unconditionally for his flash of inspiration, can you? They've waited long enough. The speed of Sun Wuming's push-ups is extremely fast, enough to see some young women blushing and eager to try. Gwen, this world needs sympathy, but sympathy cannot be flooded. Don't worry about things outside the scope of your ability. Sun Wuming meant something, but now Gwen couldn't understand it. He only hoped that Gwen would learn something from that statement once Spider-Woman showed up. HMPH, bad guy, come to preach to me again. Gwen pouted cutely, and sat on Sun Wuming's back, acting as a weight for him. It's a pity that with the weight of a girl, the pressure on Sun Wuming did not bring him any pressure. On the contrary, the astonishing elasticity made his blood boil, and his range of movements became larger and larger. Why are you rewarding me? After a while, Gwen blushed and ran away. This guy, physical strength is really a monster. In just 1 hour, Sun Wuming finished his workout and watched the boring variety show of the United States with Gwen. In fact, it doesn't matter what is shown on TV, the important thing is that two people watch it together. In the past, Gwen often came to Sun Wuming's house on weekends, and the two spent the day peacefully. But today her mood is a little ups and downs. Sun Wuming didn't know that what he said just now had an impact on Gwen. Don't worry about things outside the scope of your ability, so how big is my ability now? The girl was confused. Now, she had to admit that her body had changed. Strength, agility, perception. These are completely beyond the scope of an ordinary person. And what will she do with her after she has obtained these powers? Over the course of the afternoon, Gwen's thoughts gradually cleared up, and enlightenment appeared in his eyes. Mr. George's call did not break plans for the two to have dinner together. After eating, Sun Wuming sent Gwen home as usual. Originally, he wanted to take a taxi, but Gwen insisted that he walk back with him. Sun Wuming could only agree. Along the way, Gwen looked up at the skyscrapers towering over the streets. Crazy ideas burst out of my mind. Sun Wuming could see her excitement and didn't intend to stop it. Gwen can do whatever he wants, and he will be responsible for any danger. In this big fart New York, there are things that Saiyans can't handle. However, we also need to pay attention to the cultivation of mentality and 3 views. He doesn't want Gwen to become too holy. Take the elevator and come to the door of Gwen's house. Then I'll go in first. Gwen returned to her usual cheerfulness and said with a smile. Sun Wuming nodded, suddenly thinking in his heart. Part of the chi in the body was released intentionally. In an instant, the hairs on Gwen's arms felt the same. An astonishing sense of crisis rushed straight to my heart. Sun Wuming laughed and pointed at Gwen's arm. You should shave, Gwen. Sun Wuming. It turns out that women hold grudges. Because of a wrong sentence, Gwen didn't give Sun Wuming a good face for a whole week. I don't wait for him after school every day, or go to band rehearsal, or just run home by myself. However, Sun Wuming still found that Gwen had indeed shaved, at least he couldn't see it with the naked eye unless he looked carefully. This girl thought she was upright, so she obviously accepted the suggestion, so it's fine if she doesn't give rewards, and she still wants to play Cold War with him. How did you become so arrogant? Peter, do you want to come to my house to play NBA Live? I will definitely not use O'Neal this time. After school, Sun Wuming stopped Peter Parker, who had just packed his school bag. Gwen was not with him anymore, and life had to go on. If there is no woman, there will be nothing, and he still has a man. Peter is not bad, he is very good at playing games. If it is not for the OK combination, Sun Wuming would not be Peter's opponent. It's too early to wear it. There's not even 2K these days, so I can only endure all kinds of bugs and play that shit like NBA Live. Sorry, Wuming, I have to go to Dr. Connor's laboratory, so. Peter was a little nervous, with regret written all over his face, as if refusing to play games was a big mistake, looking at Sun Wuming a little depressed. Is he the kind of unreasonable person? Forget it, Peter, since you have something to do, go do it and talk about it when you have time. After I help Dr. Connors complete the experiment, I will stay with you all night. Peter said gratefully, then put on his school bag and ran away. There was a chuckle from the side. Sun Wuming turned his head, his tone exaggerated. My God, isn't this Miss Stacy who is so busy that she disappears as soon as school is over? Did the sun come out from the west today? You haven't left the campus 5 minutes after school. The yin and yang tone made Jay Wen very angry. Bang Bang was 2 punches, and Sun Wuming grinned in pain. Definitely is installed. Not to mention that Gwen has already restrained his strength. Even if the firepower is fully fired, he will not feel pain. You can say that Saiyans are good, but you can't say that Saiyans are not resistant to beating. Aren't you poor? Do you want to go home for dinner? Think about it. Definitely think about it. Gentleman Sun Wuming took Gwen's school bag and wrapped his arms around the girl's slender shoulders. I wonder if this lady can have dinner with me. I've been eating junk food for a week. Pissed. Gwen finally couldn't bear it any longer, and took Sun Wuming's arm, which meant that she was completely relieved. In fact, it's not angry, Gwen is just shy, annoyed by Sun Wuming's incomprehensible style. How can anyone directly say that girls have long body hair? At the same time, Gwen still had a doubt in his heart. Over the past few days, she has been basically familiar with the changes in her body. She named the hair on end that day as spider telepathy, also known as Gwen Jilling. Only when the crisis is felt, the body and brain will send out the alarm. But at that time, there were only her and Sun Wuming at the door of the house, and nothing dangerous happened afterwards. It is really inexplicable. After struggling for 2 days, Gwen could only attribute it to the fact that she had just obtained the ability and was not yet proficient in mastering it. By the way, Wuming, have you followed the news in New York recently? On the way home, Gwen stroked the hair that fell on her forehead, and asked, inadvertently. Sun Wuming immediately understood why Gwen suddenly wanted to go home with him today. Feelings are children who have obtained a new toy, but it is not easy to show off, so they can only use such a roundabout way. He also followed Gwen's train of thought. Look, New York is very lively recently. As he said that, Sun Wuming also took out a newspaper from his school bag. On the cover was a masked woman in black and white tight uniform and blue ballet shoes. The title is also very simple, just the 2 words Spider Woman. You got it. That's great. What do you think about Spider Woman? Gwen's tone was much lighter, and there was imperceptible expectation in her voice, wanting to know what Sun Wuming's impression was of the Spider Woman who turned out to be born. These days, Spider Woman is on the streets of Queens. It's as small as helping the old lady cross the road, and as big as subduing the robber who robbed. Figures are everywhere, and her ability to wander in the air with the help of Cobweb and various warm-hearted deeds also made Spider Woman's popularity soar. Some companies have already spoken publicly on the internet, hoping that Spider Woman can authorize them to make toys and figures. A smile flashed in Sun Wuming's eyes, and he said casually, to be honest, my impression of Spider Woman is average, or even bad. What? Gwen's voice suddenly rose, and when she found that Sun Wuming was looking at her with strange eyes, she quickly waved her hands. Why do you hate her? She is obviously working so hard to help others. Because the newspapers have said that this is a sensationalist. Sun Wuming pointed at the newspaper, and Gwen finally saw which newspaper it was. The Daily Bugle. Immediately, a bad feeling rose in my heart. Look, it's very clear here. Granny didn't want to cross the street, she just stood there waiting for her grandson to leave school, and Spider Woman sent her across. The gangster who robbed was subdued, but the economic damage caused exceeded $100,000. Prevented the car accident, but when using the cobweb to control the car, the steering wheel was pulled off. Quote. Sun Wuming talked more and more vigorously, but he didn't notice that the face of the girl next to her was so dark that she was about to become human. By the way, the blue ballet shoes are also ugly. Black tights and blue shoes. Hasn't she taken art class? Even elementary school students should know that such a match is a disaster. Finally, Gwen couldn't bear to interrupt him. Wuming, the newspapers are full of exaggerated statements, and the Clarion Daily likes to use such alarmist techniques. Spider Woman obviously wants to help everyone, but the loss of property can't be more important than the life of an innocent passerby, right? In any case, she has many advantages. Gwen already regretted discussing Spider Woman with Wuming, and she also thought if Wuming admired Spider Woman, she can slowly reveal her identity. Who knew it would turn out like this? The Daily Bugle. Blue ballet slippers. You're right, Spider Woman does have her strengths. Sun Wuming nodded seriously. The fire of hope rekindled in Gwen's heart. What is it? Is it kind? Sun Wuming shook his head and said seriously, she has a really good figure. Against the backdrop of the tights, Gwen's perfect curves were fully revealed, and he really wanted to try to see if there was anything stuffed inside. How can it be so warped? I don't usually feel it. Gwen, go to hell, man. Seeing the girl walking home with her head sullen, without saying a word, Sun Wuming almost laughed out loud. This Gwen is simply too much fun. Okay, Gwen, actually the main reason I don't like Spider-Woman is because Mr. George doesn't like her. You see, this is a statement made by Mr. George. Sun Wuming caught up and handed the newspaper to Gwen, which read: The appearance of Spider-Woman is a complete contempt for the NYPD. She has no law enforcement power. Please believe the general public that the New York police have the ability to protect the personal safety of any taxpayer. Citizens who have clues to the identity of Spider-Woman can come to the police station to report, and we will give generous rewards. Later, the reporter asked some more questions, and Mr. George's words were full of dissatisfaction with Spider-Woman. Gwen was numb after seeing this. Co-author Sun Wuming hates himself because of his dad. So I have to thank Sun Wuming and her dad for standing on the same front to hate me. For a while, the Gwen CPU almost burned. Well, let's not talk about these things for a while, time will prove that Spider-Woman is just. Gwen hurriedly changed the subject. She was afraid that if she continued to speak, she should hate herself. At night, Sun Wuming was lying on the big bed in a daze. After eating, Gwen left in a hurry. Feeling Gwen's constantly moving chi, it is estimated that he is fighting for justice on the street. It was a bit boring for him to lie alone like this. Exercising every day can bring little improvement now, so after completing the daily training volume, Sun Wuming is also idle. Usually, I can still send text messages and talk on the phone with Gwen. Or chase dramas, but now girls are having fun in the street, and I don't know what to watch in TV series. Sun Wuming fell into an incomparable emptiness. What should I do? Do you want to go to the Continental Hotel to pick up work? Sun Wuming, who didn't want to work for others, gave up this idea. He was waiting for an opportunity to acquire the Continental Hotel in New York and turn himself into the boss. Let's go and see Gwen. He hasn't seen Gwen's Spider-Woman form yet. I wonder if it will be more beautiful than the pictures in the newspaper. As soon as he thought of it, Sun Wuming simply changed his face, put on a black exercise uniform, and disappeared into the villa. Wukong activated and flew towards where Gwen was. Brooklyn. A robbery is taking place in a dark alley. The protagonist is a white woman and 3 strong serfs. Perhaps because the wages had just been paid, the woman was unwilling to hand over the bag in her hand, and a fight broke out between the 2 sides. Just when a black hand was about to slap a woman's face, a group of cobwebs shot from the shadows, grabbed his hand, and flew out directly. Spider-Woman in a black and white battle suit jumped in front of the woman. Hey, beating a woman is not a gentleman's behavior, it will be despised by the neighbors. Why do you have to steal other people's money? With your physical fitness, if you go to work, there should be many bosses rushing to ask for it. If it doesn't work, you can go to the plantation to find a job. Putting on the battle suit, Gwen turns into a chatterbox form. Perhaps this is a side effect of the spider gene. The little mouth kept talking like a machine gun. And the last plantation obviously touched the memory hidden in the DNA of these black people. Shut up, pajama baby. I know you, Spider-Woman. But Brooklyn is not Manhattan, I'll kill you. A black man pulled out his gun violently and opened fire without hesitation. There were 2 gunshots, and Gwen reacted quickly, avoiding the bullets with the woman behind her. Sorry, but I still have to say that those guys in Hell's Kitchen are much more ruthless than you. Last time they even shot Thompson, I was terrified. Gwen continued to talk about tuberculosis, and while talking, she shot cobwebs from her wrists, easily subdued the 3 black men, and hung them on the wall like silkworm babies. Okay ma'am, you can go now. Gwen looked at her masterpiece with satisfaction, and said to the white woman. Thank you, Spider-Woman, I knew the Daily Bugle was wrong, you're a good guy, and I'll speak up for you next time. Gwen's face froze under the hood. It's that report again. However, 3 robbers were subdued and only 1 trash can was damaged. Dad shouldn't criticize her again this time. Oh no, it's Spider-Woman, right? Thinking of this, Gwen couldn't help laughing. On the top of a tall building not far away, Sun Wuming witnessed what happened just now, with a smile on his face as well. Fighting has no rules, purely relying on one's own strength and speed, as well as Cobweb's super stickiness. The newly debuted Spider-Woman is really immature. But it cannot be denied that because of having learned gymnastics, Gwen's movements are extremely beautiful, and the close-fitting battlesuit is just a word. Saw. Looking down slightly, Sun Wuming smiled even more happily. Because Gwen had taken his advice and changed the blue ballet shoes to white, which was much more pleasing to the eye. Looking at Gwen, who wanted to swing to other places after finishing the matter. Just as Sun Wuming was about to follow, the phone in his pocket rang suddenly. In the empty and quiet alley, the noisy bell was particularly harsh, and Gwen instantly locked the source of the sound. Who? No intention to disturb, I'm just an ordinary person passing by. Sun Wuming jumped down somewhat helplessly, and picked up the phone by the way. He didn't bring his usual mobile phone with him, and this mobile phone was used by him as a killer. Hey, John, you better be busy. Gwen looked warily at the strange man who suddenly appeared in front of him. Just like that, he jumped down from a height of 3 floors and answered the phone with a relaxed face. At first glance, he is not an ordinary person. She didn't notice at all just now that there was someone there. Not even the sound of breathing could be heard. Too strange. Without acting rashly, Gwen just watched Sun Wuming answer the phone. John on the other end of the phone was taken aback for a moment, and soon realized what was going on. Sorry, it seems I disturbed you. Let's talk about something, John, I know you won't call me lightly. Sun Wuming at the moment was a little panicked. He was afraid that John Wick would call out his name directly. With Gwen's current hearing ability, he must be able to hear clearly. Fortunately, John is an old fritter, and it is impossible to make these low-level mistakes. My house was bombed, and now it's in your house. Sun Wuming raised his eyes slightly, but his expression didn't change. I see, I'll be here right away. After finishing speaking, he hung up the phone and shook the phone. Thank you very much for your silence just now, Miss Spider. Sun Wuming did not shy away from admiring the temptation of Gwen's uniform. The high elastic stretch fabric highlights Gwen's good figure to the fullest. The bottom of the chest is black, and the top of the chest is the opposite of white. There are also red grid-shaped decorations on the elbows. The uniform is also equipped with a jumpsuit, which makes the image of the girl less rigid and has a little more vitality. Before, Sun Wuming also said that Gwen's aesthetics was not good, so look at it this way. It's just too good. What's your name? Why did you come here? Sun Wuming's scorching gaze made Gwen shrink her neck, and took 2 steps back. You can call me a Saiyan. Sun Wuming shrugged his shoulders with a relaxed tone. As for why I came here, it's definitely to see Spider-Woman, who has been in the limelight recently. Gwen didn't expect that this mysterious man came to look for her, and Dang even started talking. Are you also a superhuman? Jumping from such a high building will do nothing. It's amazing. Unlike me, I still need to use Cobweb. By the way, is there any superpower organization? Do I need to pay a membership fee to join? If you need too much, then don't join, my wallet has shrunk a lot recently. Quote. Buzz buzz. The girl's ramblings made Sun Wuming feel dizzy for a while. Why didn't he realize that Gwen still has the potential for chatterbox? Just when he was about to interrupt Gwen, Sun Wuming suddenly saw behind the girl, the gangster who was originally under control broke free from the cobweb and put his hands on his waist. A stern look flashed in his eyes, and Sun Wuming waved a golden crescent-shaped wave of light. Gwen's hairs stood on end, and her body began to dodge instinctively, but she was shocked to find that the attack was not aimed at her. Ah! There was a scream, and Gwen turned around. The arms of a gangster under his control were all cut off, blood spurted out, and he screamed in pain. What are you doing? Gwen exasperated. He just wanted to get a gun. Sun Wuming pointed at the gangster's waist. You don't need to thank me, I avoided a crisis for you. I have the ability to dodge. Gwen said angrily. Her spider telepathy can only be triggered before she is in danger. The gangster didn't even touch the gun, and naturally spider telepathy didn't have any feedback. Originally, she thought that Sun Wuming, who appeared suddenly, was an envoy of justice like her, but she didn't expect such a ruthless attack. There is no need for sympathy for gangsters. Maybe I cut off his hand, which is a good thing for more people. Sun Wuming said patiently, but in the next second, the conversation changed, and he hooked his right index finger, and said in a very embarrassing way. If you don't like it, come and hit me. You managed to piss me off, Mr. Saiyan. Seeing the beating expression and gestures on Sun Wuming's face, Gwen was furious. With a kick of her slender legs, Gwen rushed straight to Sun Wuming. At the same time, 2 balls of white cobweb were launched from the hand, trying to subdue him. All right. Facing the white unknown object that was shot, Sun Wuming did not dodge or dodge, stretched out both hands to grab it, and then pulled it hard. He definitely intended to irritate Gwen, and in the middle of speaking, Sun Wuming suddenly found that this was a good teaching opportunity. It just made Gwen calm down. She is the only Superman who has shown up so far. This girl is already a little bit drifting, and she will definitely suffer a lot if she encounters danger in the future. Originally, Gwen was delighted to see the mysterious man hardwired her cobweb. Her cobweb is extremely sticky, so if you grab it like this, you will definitely be unable to escape. But in the next second, a colossal force struck. Gwen's body flew over uncontrollably. When you look down at the abyss is also staring at you. Sun Wuming whispered. Miss Spider, you are too reckless. You haven't won yet, brutal Saiyan. Gwen snorted softly, disconnecting cobweb on her own initiative. Her excellent waist strength allowed her to change her posture even in the air. The slender and powerful thigh stretched out, and it was about to kick Sun Wuming in the face. But he just turned sideways slightly, and he was dodged. Due to too much force, Gwen's figure fell into a short-term rigidity, and his body continued to rush forward uncontrollably. Sun Wuming took advantage of the opportunity to punch Gwen and sent him flying. Fortunately, the strength he used was only at the level of ordinary people plus some ingenuity. Gwen only felt a pain and was not injured. After landing on the ground and rolling twice, Gwen shot 2 balls of cobweb, which was dodged by Sun Wuming again. The two fought in the dark alley. Gwen punched and kicked constantly, and used the cobweb to make all kinds of difficult moves. Putting it on ordinary criminals, he was subdued long ago. But Sun Wuming only used one hand to resist, dodging repeatedly with her feet, and her attack did not hit the ground. Sun Wuming only used ordinary people's strength and speed, and easily suppressed Gwen, as if teasing a child. Spider-Gwen's reaction is extremely sensitive, but Sun Wuming's combat experience and eyesight are much better than her. Often it was Gwen who responded, but Sun Wuming had already guessed what she was going to do. Frustrated and angry, Gwen also forgot the principle of not damaging official duties as much as possible, and decided to use force to suppress others. Don't send this person to prison, and she won't be named Stacy. Sun Wuming's complexion changed. It's not because of fear, no, it's also fear. Because this chick actually dragged the trash can next to her, and all the trash in it fell out. What a difference this mop is stained with shit. Mean. Faced with such a terrifying move, Sun Wuming didn't have the slightest thought of tying it up. He activated Wukong and flew into the sky under Gwen's astonished eyes. Miss Spider, you are amazing. I admit defeat. If you don't want to stink, go back and wash your clothes properly. After speaking, Sun Wuming flew away and disappeared into the vast night. My God, he can fly. Gwen didn't make a sound in surprise until Sun Wuming's figure was no longer visible. He was able to fly without relying on any external force. What kind of animal was this person bitten by? Bat. No, why did you just let him run away? Sun Wuming had long since disappeared from the sky, and Gwen patted her head in frustration. Suddenly, her keen sense of smell smelled the stench of garbage scattered on the ground, which made her almost vomit. He pulled up the 3 robbers and hurriedly left this smelly alley. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.